and it will also help to restore and rebuild and renew various structures.
The South African Communist Party says it takes a critical but non-oppositionist stance towards the Government of National Unity. The party was commemorating its 103rd anniversary in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats yesterday. General Secretary Solly Maphehela says the SACP structures will have to decide on the future of its role within the tripartite alliance. He has criticized what he describes as the behavior of ANC leaders in selecting its GNU partners.
No, it's behavior. The ANC and its leadership are two separate things. So the behavior of the leadership of the ANC is unacceptable at the moment, in a sense that when the moment arises for them to side with the people, they decide to join hands with capital and want to justify it. And to the extent that there was some engagement with us, they want to include us in that particular process. No, we're not party to it. And we felt that this is a bad political choice. There could have been a different choice and a different outcome. South Africa will then be clear. Now we are going back to the crisis of the majority under capitalist economic system.
The Senzo Mehiwa murder trial is expected to resume in the Pretoria High Court. Vodacom Forensic Supervisor Pinky Faithligam has wrapped up a testimony, and the state has indicated it plans to bring an application to recall cell phone data analyst Colonel Lambertus Steyn. Before it was adjourned on Monday last week, Advocate Zandile Mshololo for accused number 5, Fuzokuhle Ntuli, maintained her client was nowhere near the crime scene on the day the soccer star was killed. Kolile Makiki reports.
The court previously heard that Ntuli and accused one, Muzi Sibia, communicated 44 times, but Mshololo rebuffed this, saying the number mentioned in the call data did not belong to Ntuli. Ntuli also denies ever being in Vosloorus on the day of Mehiwa's murder. Mshololo says Ntuli met accused 3 and 4 and spent the night at a flat in the Johannesburg CBD. The state intends to recall cell phone data analyst Lambertus Steyn to the witness stand. He previously testified that Kelly Khumalo, Mehiwa's then girlfriend, was in communication with Ntuli prior to the murder.
And finally, Britain has temporarily withdrawn family members of its diplomats in Lebanon as fears rise over an all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah. A growing number of countries have urged their citizens to leave Lebanon immediately, but many flights in and out of the capital have been cancelled. The U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby has reiterated that the United States will stand with Israel in the event of any attack by Hezbollah or its ally Iran.
When the Supreme Leader says he's going to avenge, we have to take that seriously. Now, I don't know what they're going to do or when they're going to do it, but we got to make darn sure that we're ready and that we have the capabilities in the region to be able to help Israel defend itself and, quite frankly, defend our own people, our own facilities, our own national security interests.
Recapping the top story, the Gauteng Department of Education says it will initiate an independent investigation into whether a culture of racism exists at the Pretoria High School for girls. This after the school's governing body found 12 of the 13 learners suspended in connection with allegations of racism not guilty of misconduct. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
When Freddie, a troubled woman, is nearly assaulted outside a nightclub, the toilet attendant steps in to help. Baba, a former child soldier, acts with swift, unstoppable brutality. She's entranced. The pair form an instant intoxicating connection. Something dark within both of them quickly emerges. Soon, they set about exacting revenge on people from Freddie's past. Baba's skill for violence and Freddie's tinge of psychopathy prove a lethal combination. But they are not the only ones on the hunt. We hunt together, Mondays to Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on S3. Starts 24th of July. Channel your best drama with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
S3. SA Schools football comes alive on the 9th and 10th of August 2024 at Sarah Park, Wits University for the SA Schools National Championship from 9 a.m. daily. The best under-15 boys and girls representing their province's school teams will battle it out to try and be selected into the under-15 schools national team. Bring your family and camp chairs to support your provincial under-15 team. If you're not in Gauteng, catch the games on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus. For more details, visit safa.net. SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Because Outsurance is the best insurance company in South Africa, they work even harder for their clients. Outsurance has consistently had the best ombudsman for short-term insurance results for the past 11 years. And Outsurance pays out over 1.7 million rands in out bonuses every day to their clients. Why would you want to be with anyone else? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Visit Outsurance for a 10-minute code that could save you thousands of rands. A licensed insurer. Terms and conditions apply.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
The world continues to portray African women as victims. They talk about African women and it's always as victims of one problem or another: poverty, sexual violence, HIV/AIDS, whatever you want to look at. And when people portray us as victims, they don't want to ask us about solutions, because people don't ask victims for solutions. So it's a real issue that we need to take very seriously, that we need to get African women's voices out there. We need to get the representation in the places of power. The good thing is that that small list is growing. We've got the really wonderful Lima Gbawi, who's now being asked to take her place and be part of all kinds of discussions. And that's great, because Lima is such a wonderful woman with so many great ideas. But the issue for Africa is that if we have to wait for every African woman who has ideas to be given a Nobel Peace Prize before they're given a place at the table, we will be waiting a very, very long time. There are thousands more. Women who've got even more amazing stories behind them, women who have achieved as much, if not more. Now, just as I can't speak for all African women, neither can any of these thousands of women. And some of those women have fantastic ideas. Some of them have positions that I absolutely endorse. Some of them have positions that I don't like at all. But the point is that it is a diversity of voices. And the more African women's voices we have in critical places, the better we will be able to challenge the wrongs and the injustices, the more we will be able to push for the change that we really want to see. If we really want the big picture, if we really want to change the world, we need to bring African women to the center of the picture and not marginalize them.
That is Theo Soa, by the way, a former CEO of the African Women's Development Fund. And of course, we are in Women's Month. Welcome to The Talking Point. It's Monday, the 5th of August, 2024. I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi. I'm in for Cathy Mohlahlana on The Talking Point, where SFM leading the conversation. Join in whenever you want on 086 000 2032 086 000 2032, and you can SMS us on 41391. That's 41391. That will come to you though at 150. We are also on the WhatsApp line 0614104107. Coming up on the program today, between now and 10, we open the lines for you on the 086 000 2032 number, 086 000 2032 number, or the 0614104107. Lots of issues really that we can discuss. After 10, we're going to have a conversation around the ANC. Listen, you can like or not dislike the ANC. it's a fascinating organization. It's always a fascinating organization to also talk about. And we're talking about them because, we're having a conversation around following the path of African liberation movements, because they got together to self-evaluate on the weekend, as you may or may not have heard in the news on the weekend. They went to Birchwood Executive Hotel on the weekend to talk about how they did in the elections in 2024, to assess themselves, to have a moment of self-reflection, and perhaps try and prepare for the, local government elections, which, when you stop and think about it, are no longer that far. So we're going to have a conversation. The focus, the ANC's first Deputy Secretary General, Nomvula Mokonyane, vowed over the weekend that the 112-year-old liberation movement will not die in their hands. Not in their name, they said. It won't die in their hands. After enjoying what really was an impressive electoral support from the year 1994, the ANC has for the first time lost its majority, as we all know, and is now forced into a government of national unity, or a coalition, as other people call it, with 9 other parties. They gave, a number of reasons for why the party performed so poorly, from blaming the MK party, the Polokwane conference. They went back. That saw the then President Thabo Mbeki ousted before finishing his term, to, a disconnect with the electorate. One of the big questions we're hoping to deal with in this hour is whether the ANC is following in the footsteps of liberation movements on the African continent. So we're going to have a conversation around that in the hour 10 to 11. After 11 o'clock, of course, as I said, it's Women's Month in South Africa. We're going to look at the misconceptions that exist in the financial services sector. We're going to talk to Lindega Dzedze, who's an economist, the head of strategic partnerships and global markets at the Standard Bank Group, and the chair of the African Women Impact Fund Executive Committee. Mohlahlana will also join the conversation. She is a CA, a chartered accountant, and also the chief operating officer at BDO and president of the African Women Chartered Accountants. What do they face, as women in the financial services sector? We'll talk to them about the challenges that they face. So what's on your mind? There's a lot really we can talk about. There's really, really a lot we can talk about. Like I said, the ANC had an NEC meeting and a Lokotla as well, where they looked at what happened. Is the question that I think they asked themselves. What I wouldn't have given to be a fly on the wall, of the kinds of conversations that they had, and the answers that they gave themselves. And I asked myself the degree of honesty that they hopefully had. We obviously got, a lot of press conferences from their DGs, etc., and ultimately their president in the form of President Cyril Ramaphosa, who told us what transpired in there. But we wonder. I was listening to John as I was making my way here this morning and listening to that conversation, the last bit of the conversation that he had with Asanda Mwasheng around issues of microaggression, because, all of last week, the issue of racism at the Pretoria school, hogged the headlines in South Africa. The issue of immigration also, and the Miss South Africa also hogged the headlines or the Miss South Africa contestant hogged the headlines in South Africa. But we can talk about anything that is on your mind, anything at all. So call 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. We start with you, Billy Masha, Koskukune. Hi, Billy.
Yes, how are you?
Good, thank you. Hi, Billy.
Yes, I can hear you now. First, how does Billy think different to the ANC? What we see happening in the ANC is not what we think it should be happening. When the president of the ANC says he's going to take stock on local municipalities now, What does that mean? Because he had this umbrella tie to force municipalities to do what they were supposed to do. When they were campaigning, he did not do so. And people were so disillusioned with services. And now he's telling us that it's time for local government elections. Does this ANC really act when there's election? Or does it act when it's about time to act? Here in Sekhukhune, there's a new mayor. Instead of providing services to our people, she's busy dishing food parcels, school uniform. I don't know whether that is a role or what. And we are stuck here without water. We are stuck without roads. We are stuck without services. I don't understand it. Maybe we are different from these people.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, it's like you were watching the press conference after they get together at the weekend in Betrud, because one of the things that the people said is that the people on the ground are tending to start to feel like the political parties, particularly the ANC, talks to them when they're about to go to elections.
Why?
And they don't talk to them, prior to elections, and they want to relook at that. That's what he said, that they want to relook at that and find ways to connect with people on the ground way prior to the moment of elections.
Hey, they've lost touch with the reality, I can assure you.
So what change do you want in Sekhukhune? If they were to do something drastically different, what would you say to them if they were listening to you now?
There's a lot of money which goes back to Treasury for infrastructure development. There are big dams here. There's no single project of a pipeline going on now. There are tankers all over. Tankers take so much money for this municipality for no reason. People are drinking dirty water. We are left to fend for ourselves in dirty streams. People are dying of thirst.
Yeah.
They take their last coins and buy dirty water. I don't know why it is. People are busy telling us this is Mandela month. And after that, so what? We knew Mandela. Mandela did not give us this food. This food, when they leave, they are finished. In fact, they'll make us fight with them because they're so scared. Give us water, we'll plant ourselves food. Give us roads so that we can drive on this road. Nothing's done. Please.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. We're going to go to break, and then I see you, KD, in the Northern Cape. I will come back with your call after this break.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Are you shopping around for the best car insurance deal on the market? 46-year-old Zanele got a great deal on her car insurance when she called Outsurance. She now pays $1,313 to insure her white 2023 Audi Q2 1.4T FSI S-Line. Get an Outsurance code and see if you could save. SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754 now. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply.
You are listening to KG Mwekezi on SAFM. Call us on 086 000 2032.
So welcome back to the open line on the talking point on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. KD in the Northern Cape, you want to talk the South African Human Rights Commission. You say that you saw an interview on sexism, racism and xenophobia in South Africa. Hi, KD.
Hello, TJ and the listeners. Yes, it was on SAFM last week.
Oh,
so I'm not
okay.
sure whether it was Friday or...
Okay, sure.
So I want to concentrate on what he said and the gaps which I saw in what he was saying and what I think is the reason why actually we are not making progress. So he spoke about that there is racism, there is xenophobia, and there is sexism in South Africa, and said that these are institutionalized, which is true. So, but now he also said that we should understand when people are asking questions. And that is where I had a problem, because that is also what can happen if you want to address the issue of men and women. Men can say, let us be violent, let us be abusive, because it's what is in us, and we have nowhere else to vent it out. So, but it's not acceptable to do that in society. Why should it be acceptable for South Africans to be tribalistic to each other, to be xenophobic to other black people? So that is where I had a problem, and I said, no. That is when you give a gap which allows you not to deal with the issues. The issues that we face are that from the tribalism, from the division of black people, comes the spirit of xenophobia. That's it. And the reason why it continues is because the leadership of black people, our society, has not addressed the core issues. And for me, the core issues remain the divisions which we are unable to deal with from the legacy of apartheid, because we live now in this new South Africa. So if we are unable to put value into the life of a black person, if we are unable to convince a colored person that a black person is not lesser than you, a white person knowing that a black person is not a sub-animal for you, so then we will have these issues again and again. And the greatest way that they will be manifested is for a young woman who is born here, having a Nigerian name, because we will give excuses and say, okay, since there is no service delivery, since there were Guptas, since there is corruption, it's understandable for black people to ban, to kill black people in the name of xenophobia.
Okay. So you must remember, I'm trying to sort of gather the context because I wasn't listening at the same time that you were listening. So you're saying that we have to root our issues of xenophobia almost to the socio-economic dynamics that we face as a result of the colonialism that we faced. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes, ma'am. And what I'm saying more on that is that we have to look at the reasons why we are divided as Basotho, as Banguni, as Venda, as Tonga, before we say we want to understand that other people who are coming here is acceptable to hate them.
Yeah. So do you think there's also validity to this suggestion that's being put on the table then, particularly by former President Thabo Mbeki, who is saying there's conversations we need to have as South Africans around how we even shape this democracy?
See, ma'am, conversation is the right word to use, but that's not what we mean. I do understand the former president, because that's the best that we can say as a former president. In my own view, what we do need is to define what we want as Africans. If we cannot define ourselves from a single ideology, whether it is ancestral spirits, or whether it is Christianity, or whether it is Ubuntu, if we cannot have that as the most basic ideology, we'll always run in circles, because at the end of the day, what will separate other people is that, no, the Zulu ancestors are not the same as Bajoan ancestors. So now that is where the divisions will be, always.
But why do we have to define ourselves under one single ideology when even the imperatives of our own cultures as African people vary a bit? Because there's certain things that as I as a Motswana person will practice very differently to the things that a Zulu person, for example, would practice.
What will be useful for us, KG, is not what we define ourselves as things that separate us, but the things that bring us together. So
I hear you.
The external issues of how Botswana do certain things and Maxhosa do certain things, those are not the things that will bring us together. But these are the things that will always bring us apart. So what should, what your question is why we should, is because let us look into our history. Why were we in the position that we were in? Because we focused on what separated us. We have to make that hard choice. More than what the president has said, conversations, we have to make the choice of what we need to do to be together. All the other nations on earth, the races that dominated the earth, the Europeans, they were divided, worshipping different gods until Christianity brought them together. So if we do not bring ourselves to a position where we will identify what is the basic ideology from Cape to Cairo, so we are playing games.
Do you think, and I'm going to speak generally again, do you think Pan-Africanism is it? Do you think this general ethos that everybody's talking about called Pan-Africanism is it? It's that thing that can be the one thing that is that thread that you're saying should be the one thing that binds us or that defines us?
To be honest with you, KG, I don't think so. Because from Pan-Africanism, that's where, we are all black, we are all like this and that, we have got the history of colonialism. Now it begins to have a gap. Where are we coming from? In reality, you are going to find that, no, people don't want to focus now on the hard conversation that say, no, but the Bantu here may have links in West Africa.
Yeah.
So we don't want to go there. And Pan-Africanism doesn't want to go there because the goal of Pan-Africanism is that let us feel good to be together. But what we need is to be good so that we are together.
This is fantastic. Forced me to think too. Thank you. Thank you, because we have to find solutions at some point. Because it keeps coming, it loops itself. It keeps rearing itself over and over again. More often than not, we're being forced to deal with it, whether we like to or we don't like to. So thank you for bringing it. Thanks, KD. It's 9:30. It's time for the news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks, KG. In the headlines, political analyst Professor Dirk Coetzee says the ANC still has a chance to redeem itself by improving on its governance, leadership and membership. This as the party's National Executive Committee's Lekgotla continues in Boksburg today. The Gauteng Department of Education says it will initiate an independent investigation into whether a culture of racism exists at the Pretoria High School for Girls. And Mali says it has cut diplomatic relations with Ukraine after a military official suggested Kyiv had played a role in deadly fighting near the Algerian border last month. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Engage. Kenikunene must focus on the transport mafias instead of lambasting DA and busy with potholes. Mapaile must join MK and stop lambasting ANC. Things are changing now. You need to workshop even the taxi industry. Things are changing. They must not be mentally constipated. Let us also address tribalism, not racism only just because one sits in the parliament. Thank you, Cage.
Hi, KG. Errol from Durban here. Yeah, I'm glad these 12 girls were found not guilty. It was a mountain was being made out of a molehill. It was all blown out of proportion. You know, racism will take a long time to die, not only in South Africa, but the rest of the world. Look how black players are called horrible names by white spectators in countries like Italy, Spain, Portugal. And look how the American police treat the black Africans. Yeah, racism will take a long time to die out. Unfortunately, Errol, Durban.
Good morning, KG, here as of the station. You see, I heard Ramaphosa is talking that they came to the resolution that all failures must be removed. But I think that's a false excuse. It's a proper pretext. The whole ANC must be criticized. 1, corruption. 2, injustice. 3, paganism. That's why we are running away from the ANC. And even now, if I die, I will die happy for the safety of my grandchildren. Tusi from Inan. Bye.
Says KG, hi, are you well? This is JCK Kaunda from Sina. Says KG, porous borders are costing fortune and fear in Musina. Livestock and hijacked vehicles are smuggled into Zimbabwe daily. BMA and SANDF, South African National Defence Force, are nowhere to be seen. Let me rest my case for now. Jesse K, Kaunda from Sina.
A very good morning to you, KG, and your crew. In my view, the ANC had shot itself in the foot right from the Polokwane conference in 2007, the recall of former President Thabo Mbeki, the elevation of Jacob Zuma to the highest office in the land. That's what costed the movement votes a great deal, because there's nothing Zuma did in improving the organization. Instead, corruption took its place. I thank you. Patukolo Emondi.
Morning, SKG, Tabiso Bloemfontein. I would like to pose this question to Home Affairs about unabridged birth certificate. As a father, do I have a right to demand an unabridged birth certificate for my kids, or that right solely lies on a mother, whether she allows for my names to appear on my child birth certificate? Do I have a say as a father on that issue?
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Of course, we're taking your calls on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032 on the talking point, or the WhatsApps are open on 061 410 4107. It's time for you, Manuel, in the Western Cape. You want to talk diversity. Hi, Manuel.
Morning, KG. Yes, KG. As an outsider from not from South Africa, and I observed that diversity in South Africa is its weakness, because there's so many.
Say that again. I didn't hear that. Diversity is what in South Africa?
Is South Africa's weakness.
Okay.
Because South Africans spend a lot of time looking at their differences instead of working together.
Okay.
Either it's at work, or it's about health, or it's about housing, or income. Everything is according to racial lines or tribal. So it's going to take a miracle for South Africa to get over that.
A miracle.
Yes, because people don't really get together, you see, to say we are South Africans. The patriotism is not really there.
Really?
People are so divided. Yes. Because people hate each other. It's either Zulu say bad things about Xhosas, Xhosas say bad things about Sutu, black people say bad things about white people. So there is nothing that brings people together to overlook all those differences. You say to say, I'm South African, let's work together and this and this and that. You see?
I wonder how we overcame apartheid. But, I mean, go on.
Well, it's black people against the white system, you see. Now is the white monopoly. Black people against the white monopoly, anything white.
Okay.
So the unity is not really there. And when it's soccer or when it's rugby, there is also division there. It's a white sport, it's a black sport, you see.
Okay.
It's never like one thing, let's say, this is patriotism. Right now, there's about the DA. It's a DA minister. It's a ANC minister.
Okay.
There's always those differences that are picked. That mostly it's about the differences that make the headlines instead of the unity, you see, of anything that is progressive, you see.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, Manuel.
Talking from an outsider, you see. I've been here since 2007.
When you came, what attracted you to South Africa, Manuel? Seeing you're very aware of the perils of what makes South Africa not work. But outside of what makes South Africa not work, what made you, as somebody who is not from here, as you say you're not from here, what made you think that is the right destination for me to advance myself as an individual?
Despite all those challenges, South Africa has got a great work. The system works.
A what? Say that again.
The system. The country works.
Because?
There is opportunity. You go to hospital, you can get medication, you can get help.
But those things are made to work how?
I mean, comparing, you say what attracted me to come to this, to make this decision to
come here. Yes.
Yes. That's why I'm saying, okay, let's say compared to the whole of Africa, the system works in South Africa. The economy works. You can work. You can afford to do something with your life. You see?
Where are you from, and what made you leave your country, Manuel?
From up north there, just across the river there.
Which country specifically?
Zimbabwe.
And what made you leave?
Well, politics.
They didn't work there.
It doesn't work.
Okay.
Not that I'm involved in politics here, but I do follow politics here.
I can tell.
Nothing works there, yeah?
I can tell you follow politics. Thanks, Manuel. There's lots of people on the line. Alfred in Mpumalanga. Hi, Alfred.
KG, how's it?
I'm good, Alfred.
No, man, good, KG. KG, I'm disturbed, man. The way people are being killed by Israel.
The way people are?
The way people of Palestine are being killed by Israel and America.
Mm-hmm.
I first, you see, I'm refreshing my mind. It says, where one
You're lying.
People of Israel are just right now.
Your line though is letting me down, Alfred. I'm hoping they can get a better line for you, but I can hear ultimately you're lambasting the tensions in the Middle East. Anonymous in Durban, labor practices at the Department of Basic Education. Hi, Anonymous.
Hi, how are you, KG?
Hi, Anonymous. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. KG, I'm just a little concerned with the Gauteng Department of Education with the unfair labor practice there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lady I know, she worked for the higher office, which is the office of the NEC, during the term of Premier Panyaza Lusufi.
Mm-hmm.
She started working for the department in 2016, and then in 2022, that week when the new MEC was appointed, she was going for maternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
3 days after her maternity leave, she gave birth.
Wait, let me understand. When you say when the new MEC was appointed, which means her MEC was still Panyaza. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then when Panyaza
became Premier.
Yes. She was going on maternity leave.
Okay.
A week later, she received a letter of a contract terminated, and she never got paid for her maternity leave.
Oy.
When she got back and inquired about the termination, she got a letter that she resigned. And then when she approached the chief of staff, he asked her why is she bothering herself looking for a job while the man who impregnated her can look after her. Huh? I'm talking about a person who's paying a bond, who's got 3 kids. Those are going to school, who are looking after, whom she's looking after. So,
wait, but when you resign, there's always... If she resigned, there's a letter, right? If they're saying she resigned, there's always a way to prove that somebody has resigned. How did she? Yeah.
They couldn't prove it. They couldn't find it where she signed. They couldn't even find the letter. But on their system, the letter they printed out for her, it indicates that she resigned. She got the document that is printed from her HR that she resigned. And then when she does the follow-ups, they keep on asking her to apply for another department. It only happened out of all the staff from the MEC. She's the only one who's left with no job.
So has she gone to the CCMA?
Yes, the CCMA. When she got to the CCMA, the commissioner tried to mediate and ask the employer why they're not reinstating her.
Yeah.
The person who came to represent failed to answer on that, and then they took the matter to this bargaining council for private sector. For the public sector. This bargaining council for the government. Sure. They haven't responded to her yet. I'm talking like it's over a year now.
Sure.
And she's sitting with a bond that can be repossessed, and she's going to be on the street with the kids.
So does she have access to her UIF and her, benefits,
Nothing.
Retirement benefits?
Nothing. She tried to go to the Department of Labor. They did government employee.
Sure.
It's tough for her. So I think there was bullying from the chief of staff. If you can understand the answering that why the man who impregnated you doesn't look after you, why you look for a job. All the women who are working, they are married. Why only her?
Sure. There is it does sound like bullying. I'm going to ask Lebo and them to take your details so that maybe they follow up, because it sounds very bad, actually.
I even gave your producer her number, the number for the ladies that they can phone her.
Okay.
And then hear straight from her.
Okay. Hopefully they will follow it up, because it sounds really bad. Thanks for alerting us, Anonymous.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Mandla in Cape Town. Hi, Mandla. Good morning. You want to talk nation building and political parties. Morning, Mandla.
Yeah, Katie. Morning, Katie.
Hi, Mandla.
Last time I checked, the ANC was a non-racial, non-sexist organization.
That's what they say they are. In fact, they've been at pains to remind us, especially since the GNU, to remind us that that's who they are.
Yeah, and they call themselves a leader of society. Now, when you listen to some of their leaders, they say the ANC should have gone to coalition with other black parties. And you ask yourself, is ANC now a black party? do white people have a place now in the ANC? Will they ever lead ANC? Do colored people have a place in the ANC? Will they ever lead ANC? Do Indian people have a place in the ANC?
Well, the ANC does have white leaders. You know this. The ANC, for example, has Barbara Creasy, who is white, who is currently the Minister of Transport. Yes, I think her new portfolio is transport in the GNU.
Yeah, I understand it. But do they see themselves being led in the presidency by a white person? Do they see themselves led by a colored person in the presidency?
Okay. Tell me though, Mandla, where we're going here, because I have to run to a commercial break. I need you to get to your point very quickly.
Look, whenever there's racism here and there, we cry. But are we black people not the reason of these things?
Huh?
Are we not polarizing South Africa by our politics? You had the EFF chanting, kill the Boer, kill the farmer. We had Mchama calling white people murderers. Whereas there was TRC where white people went there and confessed their sins, and ANC went there, confessed their sins, and they apologized.
But you're mixing the ANC and the EFF and Qitama, and I'm so confused, and I do now have to run to that commercial break. But thank you for your call.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumapi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
SA Schools football comes alive on the 9th and 10th of August 2024 at Sarah Park, Wits University for the SA Schools National Championship from 9 a.m. daily. The best under-15 boys and girls representing their province's school teams will battle it out to try and be selected into the under-15 schools national team. Bring your family and camchairs to support your provincial under-15 team. If you're not in Gauteng, catch the games on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus. For more details, visit safa.net. SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
Welcome back. 9:51. It's open line on 086 0002032. And good luck, by the way, to the other Olympians that are still going to do their thing for the rest of the week in Paris. Alfred in Mpumalanga, you're back. You want to talk tension in the Middle East. I hope you can get to your point quickly because we still have a lot of people on the lines. Hi, Alfred.
KG.
Yes.
Norman, like I was expressing myself on the situation of Middle East. You see, I will say the Western countries, I'm not surprised that you'll have other groups attacking America and other Western countries almost year by year. Because they are being provoked by these evil activities performed by America and its allies. And unfortunately, all what they are doing that with the support of other people somewhere in some other countries. That I'm complaining now. There are other people in South Africa who are comfortable with what is doing by Israel and America there in Palestine. We're living with them. I don't know what will happen in case we take arms and begin to attack those two. Because we can't have one nation or the Western world keep on torturing other countries in the world. We can't. Really, we can't. Every time there's war in the country, it involves America and the Western and the Western people. You see now, there's war there in Russia and Ukraine. You don't see these evil activities performed by Russia against these other countries. I'm irritated by this thing, man. The behavior of the Western people is highly irritating. In a sense, they want to see themselves being in charge of the entire world.
Yeah.
If you are not part of them as a Western people, you are nothing.
Yeah.
If you are from North Korea, you are nothing. If you are from China, you are nothing. You are from Russia, you are nothing. People are only damn in the world. It can't be. When we have to talk about people around the world, we have to talk about only them. Some of others, you are just left out of the world. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Look in the history what happened to black people. By the very same Western people. No, man, these people are so evil, man.
Yeah.
I wish one day these other people will come together and try to advance themselves militarily, so that they're able to adjust this Western evil nation. It's irritating me, this thing.
Okay, Alfred. Okay, I have to go though. Nhlanhla in Durban, the ANC is what fascinates you this morning. Hey, Nhlanhla.
Hi, KG. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, you were a fly on the wall there at Birchwood this weekend.
No, I was not. I was busy. In fact, I belong to the organization called the PRM, People's Revolutionary Movement.
Okay.
And I was once a member of the ANC.
Okay.
But I had one of the spokespersons, acting spokespersons of the ANC called Zuko Kolimpi, something like that. Speaking something that has got no content whatsoever. He's good in English with no content, with no understanding of the...
Umhloniphe bandla, umhloniphe kodwa yini? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, ngiyamhlonipha.
Okay.
He's educated as far as I listened to him. But what he says, really, he cannot even match a member of the branch of the People's Revolutionary Movement. He can be engaged by a member of the branch. And be exposed, because when the ANC was formed, it was formed as an organization, not as an idea. Of course, an idea came from somewhere. And then the organization is a group of individuals who come together and then formulate an ideology, principles, aims and objectives. So he says an ANC is an idea, is not the colors. It's correct in that area where he says the ANC is not colors. No organization is a color, but they adopt colors so that anyone who wants to understand them can look at the colors and say, this organization is the ANC, this organization is the PRM, this organization is the EFF, this is the MK party.
Yeah.
So it goes on and on, talking something that he doesn't understand, trying to attack the left parties, thinking that he, with the DA, because now they are in Nkatha, ANC is in Nkatha, ECCP is DA, COSATU is DA in Nkatha, they are all together in the government of national unity, when trying to protect all of that, which they have put together, is boasting that they have strategically formed the GNU because they cannot embrace the left parties. Why? Because it was important, because we haven't even started the revolution in South Africa. Why do they go to the GNU of the Inkatha and the Democratic Alliance, leaving the left parties, when we haven't even started the revolution in South Africa? Because there has never been a revolution in South Africa. And that's what we were thinking, that maybe a peaceful revolution would be started.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go because I still have Bega, but I think you've gotten to your point that you were trying to drive. Bega in Vryheid, you're my last caller this morning. Hi, Bega. I'm sorry, Bega. Hi, Bega.
Thank you so much, Katie. How are you?
I'm well, Bega. How are you?
Good. Katie, I'm not going to waste much of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Just one reminder, because I wanted to remind the ANC leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And deliberately I say ANC leadership because I don't want to say the ANC, because there's membership in the ANC. That the ANC, one of its characters is that it is a leader of the society.
Mm-hmm.
And as the leader of the society, you don't make a decision without having sufficiently consulted your constituency.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pained, really, I must say this, because I'm also a member of the ANC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pained to see that the ANC is dying because of the decisions made by the leaders without having consulted sufficiently
the
membership.
Okay.
It seems that they punish the membership because of membership having entrusted with leading this movement. I'm inviting them and reminding them to go back to the basics. Start consulting the constituencies, the membership at branches.
Mm.
If they have to reverse some of the decisions they must do so. They can always do so, because local government is around the corner, and I think that the ANC will soon dissipate. And they must please help us with that.
Okay, Bega. That's a great place to leave it at, because actually we're continuing our discussion with around the ANC and where they're going after 10. What lessons they can learn, and the reasons that they're advancing around why they think what happened to them happened in the 2024 elections. We're going to talk to Leeton Toba and Professor Musa Kulu between 10 and 11. It's 10 now, and Musa's standing by with the news.
In our top stories, City of Tshwane's concern over alleged water tanker mafias, and Mali cuts diplomatic relations with Ukraine. Good morning. The City of Tshwane has raised concerns about what they call water tanker mafias that are taking advantage of the current water challenges to benefit themselves, pushing up the cost of providing tankers to almost 100 million rand a year. City of Tshwane MMC for Utilities, Temba Fosi, says in some areas like Bronkhorstspruit, the so-called water tanker mafias go to the extent of tampering with the city's infrastructure.
That is 98 million, excluding emergencies. If you add other emergencies of outages, faults on our system, or leakages, it goes far more than that. There's areas like Mamelodi in the Ikageng where there's quite a huge illegal connection that has been tapped there, so you find that ratepayers don't have access to water. So water tankers come in. You've got areas like Hammanskraal where there's no potable water, so we rely on water tankers. The people who are now sabotaging our system, intentionally breaking the valves. This is so that we can be able to get the services.
Residents of Klipfontein View Extension 1 in Midrand, north of Johannesburg, have barricaded roads with rocks and burning tyres. They are protesting over lack of water, which they say they've not had for a month now. Allendale Road and Klipfontein View are affected. Johannesburg Metro Police spokesperson Xolani Fihla says officers are on the scene controlling traffic.
Officers have been dispatched to assess the situation and assist with diverting vehicles away from the affected areas. The closures are causing significant traffic disruptions between Midrand and Tembisa and Kempton Park in Ekurhuleni, and motorists should expect heavy delays as they navigate the area. We urge drivers to exercise caution and use alternative routes such as Modderfontein Road, Mastiff Road and Dane Road to avoid the closures.
Political analyst Professor Dirk Coetzee says the ANC still has a chance to redeem itself by improving on its governance, leadership and membership. The party's National Executive Committee's Lekgotla continues in Boksburg today. Top officials are reviewing the ANC's election performance, which saw a plunge in the party's fortunes. Coetzee says the ANC has to work on restoring a good public perception of it.
We can never say it's too late, but it is very little time that's available for them to change. It's not only about the de facto performance of governments, but it is also the public perception about what the ANC is doing. It's a two-pronged approach that they will have to follow. The one is to improve the quality of government, where the ANC is the leading party or the majority party, and then also to change the ANC itself, the way in which they conduct themselves, the quality of membership, the quality of leadership in the ANC.
The Gauteng Department of Education says it will initiate an independent investigation into whether a culture of racism exists at the Pretoria High School for girls. This after the school's governing body found 12 of the 13 learners suspended in connection with allegations of racism not guilty of misconduct. The allegations were based on reports of a whites-only WhatsApp group wherein the 12 learners complained about black learners and made statements that had racial connotations. Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona says they will not interfere with the findings of the SGB.
The department cannot interfere with the outcome since the SGB is empowered by law to initiate and facilitate disciplinary hearings against learners. Now, consequently, the MEC will be launching an independent investigation into this matter, focusing on determining whether a culture of racism exists at the said school. This recourse, which MEC has decided to pursue, will not investigate the 12 learners, but rather the allegations that racism exists at the school.
And finally, Mali says it has cut diplomatic relations with Ukraine after a military official suggested Kyiv had played a role in deadly fighting near the Algerian border last month. The BBC's Paddy Maguire reports.
It was a rare admission by Mali's army that it had suffered significant losses during the 2 days of fighting in late July. Both Malian soldiers and dozens of Russian mercenaries were killed in clashes with Tuareg rebels and al-Qaeda-linked militants. So after Andriy Yusov from Ukraine's military intelligence agency said last week the rebels had received the necessary information to carry out the attacks, Mali has expressed outrage and shock. In a statement, Colonel Abdoulaye Maiga said Ukraine had violated Mali's sovereignty and diplomatic relations would cease with immediate effect. The Wagner losses are thought to be the heaviest suffered by the group since it began helping Mali's military government fight the insurgents 2 years ago.
Recapping the top story, the city of Tshwane has raised concerns about what they call water tanker mafias that are taking advantage of the current water challenges to benefit themselves, pushing up the cost of providing tankers to almost 100 million rand a year. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
When Freddie, a troubled woman, is nearly assaulted outside a nightclub, the toilet attendant steps in to help. Baba, a former child soldier, acts with swift, unstoppable brutality. She's entranced. The pair form an instant, intoxicating connection. Something dark within both of them quickly emerges. Soon, they set about exacting revenge on people from Freddy's past. Baba's skill for violence and Freddy's tinge of psychopathy prove a lethal combination. But they are not the only ones on the hunt. We hunt together, Mondays to Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on S3. Starts 24th of July. Channel your best drama with BBC Primetime. Only on S3. Open up.
Attention ladies, join us on Saturday, August 17th, 2024 for the Star Choices Yours Women's Day event at Altitude Fourways, a day dedicated to empowerment, inspiration and transformation. Engage with dynamic speakers, attend interactive conversations and connect with amazing women just like you. The event will be hosted by the fabulous Unatingai. Don't miss out on this opportunity to celebrate and elevate yourself. Get your tickets now at www.quicket.co.za for 550 Rand, drinks, food and a gift bag included. Plus, stand a chance to win an honor product. This incredible event is powered by independent media and the Honor 200 series.
TV licenses have developed a new GIS-linked national address database to ensure that we can communicate with all our valued license holders. We now have a visual of all licensed and unlicensed households nationwide in order to effectively communicate with you. We remind you to take note of our payment reminders and avoid paying penalties due to non-compliance or choosing to ignore your legal obligation to pay your license fees. We can communicate with all our license holders through cost-effective electronic methods, enabling us to collect license fees and continue to support the national broadcaster, the SABC, in accordance with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act No. 4 of 1999 as amended. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
It's now 10 past 10 on SAFM. Welcome to the second hour of the Talking Point here on SAFM, where we're leading the conversation. Our studio numbers, whenever you want to join, 086 000 2032 or SMS line 41391 at 150 to you though, and the WhatsApp line 0614104107. We are on X. We are at SAFM Radio, hashtag SAFM Talking Point. Whenever you want to talk to us, I'm Khomotso KG Mwekezi in for Cathy Mohlahlana. Today, in this hour, the ANC, is it following in the path of African liberation movements? The ANC's first Deputy Secretary General, Nomvula Mkonyane, vowed over the weekend that the 112-year-old liberation movement will not die in their hands. After enjoying an impressive electoral support in South Africa since 1994, the ANC has, for the very first time, lost its majority and is now forced into a government of national unity or a coalition, depending on how you want to interpret it, with 9 other parties. They gave a number of excuses or reasons, you can define it whichever way makes it comfortable for yourself, for why the party performed so poorly in the 2024 elections after gathering this weekend. These reasons included, according to them, the MK Party. That's one of the reasons they gave. The Polokwane conference that saw the then President Thabo Mbeki ousted. That's another reason that they gave. Ousted before finishing his term. To a disconnection, they say, with the electorate. Those are some of the reasons that they think they performed the way that they performed. I found it surprising, by the way, that I didn't hear things like corruption in the things that they talked about that, but that was me. I was listening to them. One of the big questions that we're hoping to deal with when we talked this hour about, the path of liberation movements and if the ANC is following the path of liberation movements in Africa is whether the ANC is following in the footsteps of other liberation movements on the African continent. So we're going to have that conversation in this hour. We're going to talk to Leeton Toba, a political analyst. We're going to talk to Professor Musa Xulu, who's a Zulu cultural expert and founder of Indon's ISCs, also an African historian, about what could have happened, what got the ANC here, outside of just the ANC giving us the assessment themselves, and whether or not it will survive this point in its history, the point that they're at. Phoebe Potgieter said something fascinating in the post press conferences that were happening. That is it an organization that is evolving to the needs of this time, this moment in history? Because people no longer care to hear what happened in 1912. They care about the dynamics that they're facing today in 2024. The challenges that they face right now, not what happened in 1912. But we'll have those conversations in a short while because our guests are ready. For now, let's hear what you said on Voice Note.
KG Moiketi, it's Mtwin Deben. It's very sad that when ANC had to do it in the introspection as to why they've lost the 2024 national election, that they have to think about their internal politics, as you said, the Polokwane Conference, the Mbeki era, and so on and so on and so on, and the MK party, but without thinking of the service delivery. I promise you, 90% of South African KG, they only care about service delivery, who don't care about ANC internal politics. That is Ndu in Durban. Thanks, KG Moiketi.
Good morning, Sis KG. It's interesting that in Africa we have seen youth being engaged in serious issues such as the cost of living, that is the protests that are taking place in Nigeria, and the protests that took place in Kenya over amendments to their taxations. But here in South Africa, we seem to be concerned with all the wrong things, and we can maintain a campaign for 2 to 3 weeks talking about whether someone should contest a beauty pageant, when there are serious pressing issues that we should be concerned about, which talks about our mindset as Black South Africans, which is focused more on hate than on progressive ideas. Thank you.
Hi, Khomoto. I hope you are well. Khomoto, my name is Tsepo. I'm from Freeroff. Khomoto, as I'm speaking to you, from last week, the 1st of August, we've been experiencing sewage water and a very bad smell coming from our taps. Joburg Water says now they switched the pumps, so nobody has helped us even today. Our kids are going to school, they are drinking dirty water. Please help.
Firstly, I hope you're boiling that water. Don't allow your kids to just drink that water straight from the tap. And the producers were listening to that, and hopefully they'll get somebody to respond to those issues. But we're shifting gear, and we're getting into the core of our discussion for this hour. As I said in the intro, the first Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress vowed that not in their hands will this 112-year-old liberation movement die. They enjoyed, of course, a very impressive electoral support. I mean, what the ANC did in 1994 in South Africa at the polls is a story for history, because it was fascinating, the kind of majority that they got. They're now forced, from there to where they are now, they're now forced to be in a government of national unity with 9 other political parties in South Africa. And they got together on the weekend and went to Betchwood Executive Hotel, that's what they call it, on the weekend to look at themselves, have a moment with themselves in the mirror and, to reflect on the gains and the losses that they had. And they talked to the media afterwards. They said, but when they spoke to the media, they said MK Party, they said Polokwane Conference, that ousted Thabo Mbeki. They said, they're hoping to deal with this, prior to the next election. They want to face whatever issues that they're dealing with prior to the next election. Let's take a listen to some of the reasons that they gave at the party's NEC meeting and Lekgotla.
Part of the disappointment of the electorate in the ANC is the service delivery challenges that we've seen, where you have taps and there's no water, or the load shedding crisis, or people go to clinics and it's not open over the weekend or in the evening. And those are all part of the achievements of democracy, because people in a normal country, those are rights. Those are things that government must deliver.
It's quite clear that the major issue that the ANC has got to do is to sort out the issue of local government.
We accept, as a National Executive Committee, that we've got to adapt or perish. Adapt in the sense that it's not just simply about repeating about all of the things that we've said, but in a genuine way look at how do you modernize an organization that's 112 years old, but that exists in today's movement.
We are not even near discussions of Wutikshaywaban. Where we are now is what happened. What happened? Once we have that understanding, we then go out and engage with everybody, self-correct where there has to be self-correction, strengthen, but ensure that you do not first start by saying, Baba Hambe. We're not a Baba Hambe party. What we are here about is about regaining what Mdua said. It's the first time we have this. How do we reposition ourselves? But also, what kind of different messages we're taking to different communities? Because the voter is not just excited about 1912. The voter in each and every corner has got his or her own different issues that he or she is interested in.
We must be much more rigorous and earnest about accountability and consequence management for acts of indiscipline and those who transgress the rules of our movement. Leaders and public representatives must be held accountable through organizational processes.
We've responded in the eThekwini municipality by changing leadership. We are talking about changing leadership in the city of Johannesburg. The ANC is already rolling out consequence management. It must look like a simple thing. Here are the performance targets that are expected of you. Are you performing? If you're not performing, you're going to be removed. If in my area of deployment in government, I bring excuses only and there is no visibility on the front of economic recovery and industrial policy, the ANC is going to have to drag me by my foot and send me back home.
So what lessons can they learn? And are there reasons valid enough to convince us as South Africans to vote them back into power? Also, where do liberation movements go wrong? To help us through these discussions, we're joined by Leeton Toba, who's a political analyst, Professor Musa Xulu, a Zulu cultural expert and founder of Indonza Yesizwe, and also he is an African historian. Good morning to the both of you, and thank you so much. I don't even know where to start, but Perhaps I start with that question that, their first Deputy Secretary General, gave in that clip that we played. And I laughed as I was listening to it when she said, we were asking what happened. And I asked myself, what happened? What happened? Is that the kind of question you still should be asking? What happened? Because, I'm no expert, but I could tell you what happened. Was that a good place to start when they were asking themselves that question, Leto? Good morning.
Good morning, Katie. I think that's the problem, right? We're actually touching on the problem in and of itself, is that a liberation movement starts out as a movement to liberate others politically, and it has the vigor to do so, even internally, right? But then slowly but surely it starts to become a social club. It's a friends thing, right? Because you'd ask yourself, what's a first Deputy Secretary General? They've never had that. But right now when they're having their friend politics, suddenly there's a first Deputy Secretary General. Because we're trying not to exclude people, we're not trying to hurt feelings. So we'll have a first Deputy Secretary General. And then you start to get to the bones of it. You look at the processes in which the ANC is calling for now. They are saying there must be internal processes where we can discipline our members. But those mechanisms were there already, even before you lost elections. They should have been there. And where is that office? The office of the Deputy Secretary General and the Deputy President of the party, right? Those are the places where discipline takes place. But also organically, that takes place at the provincial and regional level as well. You have none of those disciplinary structures because nobody wants to be disliked in the ANC, right? Everybody wants to be a friend of everybody else. And that's where the cracks start, is that, and even then, when they're talking to each other, they're still comforting each other. You heard somebody saying, no, we're still not at the stage of saying Mabasha, so which ones are we actually? Yes, we're not actually chastising anyone yet. We're at the diagnosis stage. How are you at the diagnosis stage where everybody is saying, actually the diagnosis is already out, you are hemorrhaging and you are dying? They themselves are in the wrong stage. They are still trying to diagnose a problem that they are clearly seeing. And instead of diagnosing the problem, they are making excuses.
So you're saying they don't even realize the problem that they have or the problem that is staring at them in the face. It's more obvious to you and me than it is even to them.
Because nobody is willing to put up their hand and saying, I'm the problem, right? There is a toxic culture within the ANC in and of itself. If you're saying the Polokwane conference that takes out Thabo Mbeki is one of the issues that actually started the problem, you were all there. You all picked up your hand. When the item was on the agenda, nobody protested it. You all agreed. And when people were doing bad things in the name of the party, you were all there defending fire pools and all sorts of things. And none of you actually said, comrades, but this is wrong. And when whoever did was kicked out of the party. And so now you are stuck there trying to justify to us why the bad things happened and why you need to go back to local government, for instance. Whereas you've been holding local government and local government is still failing to this day.
Does it mean, Professor Xulu, that the one thing that we have to accept is that the natural process is unfolding in front of us, and that natural process is, at a certain point, liberation movements do fold because the purpose that they were designed for has come to manifest, and they cannot sustain the new phase of being a political party, the role that they were meant for, which is being a liberation movement, has come to manifest, and something new has to be born. Good morning, Professor Xulu.
Good morning, KG. Good morning to my brother there. Look, let me start here first and foremost. One of your voice notes was complaining about this thing of spending 3 weeks trying to say things about the nationality of one of the contestants to a beauty a contest. I think it's one of the worst things that shows that sometimes maybe our democracy is going wrong. We are focusing on wrong things, even as voters and people. Elsewhere, and secondly, maybe let me say this also, it's a good thing that the ANC is 112 years old. You know, KG, in Africa, Africans are very bad at maintaining organizations and structures, and it starts and it dies. So that's a good thing, and they fought for this democracy. Many people died, like it happened in many other countries in Africa, for this democracy. And then, of course, we've reached a stage, as you're rightly saying, where the democracy was delivered in 1994. But what happens when you look at literature, usually, if you look at Mozambique, as an example, immediately after democracy is delivered, you'll have a counter-revolutionary movement fighting and trying to drive the people in some direction, also in Angola. But if you look at other countries in Africa, you'll find that after liberation is delivered, usually the younger generations are not, as you're rightly saying, interested in what happened before liberation was delivered, which is also another problematic situation. Go to the Jews and talk about Holocaust. They are taught, the children are taught at a very early age how bad things were in their history and how they turned things around. If you don't keep your history, this is what happens. You forget. And when you forget, your former oppressor comes back in many other forms, and they will easily oppress you. What has happened in many countries is that after liberation, the movement becomes interested in itself and positions, and then they are not able to maintain infrastructure which was there before. You can read any literature on what happened after liberation in African countries. And so things deteriorate. They are also not able to maintain the economy. And then if you go to any African countries, you'll find that young people, post-liberation countries, you'll find that young people are not employed. And when they are not employed, they listen to anyone who comes with an alternative agenda. And then, of course, the governing party, wherever it is, will keep appointing its own friends and sometimes people with no education or skills just because they are related to someone, and will steadily move away from engaging with people and become some kind of, my brother said, a social club. Yes, some kind of club for a few, and then they forget about, why some of them had to die for this liberation. But liberation is a process; it's not an event. And democracy. If you look at America, for example, formed in 1776, that is 248 years ago. They are still trying to find out how to stabilize democracy and how to make it work. In the case of South Africa, the fact that the ANC got less than 50%, where I sit, was a good thing. It shows that democracy is growing. People are having more alternatives, and they can look at, and I can tell you, in the next 50, 60 years, you will possibly have 2 or 3 political parties when people realize that politics is not easy. So it's a stage, and it's a good thing that they got less than 50% and were forced to work with other political parties, and that's maturity. Elsewhere in Africa, if a liberation movement had gotten less than 50% in the polls, people would be jailed, people would be killed, people would be beaten. But the ANC decided to accept the results and find a very creative way of saving the country. I don't think that saved them, actually, because if they had tried maybe to just go it alone as a minority government, there would be lots of complaints and people would be on the streets.
Let me ask you to pause there, because I'll continue after the news headlines with, the evolution of democracy. If you're saying, this is how, democracies in the world generally evolve, and this is a good thing in many ways that has happened for the ANC. But I also like the point that you made around the fact that there has has to be an agenda, and that agenda has to be bigger. And we'll continue our conversation with Leeto Ntoba and Professor Musa Xulu around the path of African liberation movements and where the ANC finds itself in a short while. But for now, it's time for the news headlines.
Thank you very much, KG. A very good morning. With the news headlines, Kemudupi Makhalemele. Fears of a possible recession in the US have prompted big falls on the Asian stock markets. Investigations into last Wednesday's crash between a bus and a train by the railway's safety regulator states that the bus driver did not adhere to the road signage at the level crossing. And the city of Tshwane has raised concerns about what it calls water tanker mafias that are taking advantage of the current water challenges to benefit themselves. Details of these and other stories at 11.
The rand is currently trading at 18 rand 48 to the dollar, 23 rand 63 to the pound, and 20 rand 22 to the euro. Markets in Asia extended losses at the closing bell. The JSE is weaker in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are in negative terrain. Gold is trading at $2,431 and platinum at $932 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $76.44 a barrel.
Tweet at SFM Radio and at KG Moeketsi.
So, welcome back. If you just joined us, you're late. Where have you been? But thank you for joining in. We are in conversation with Leeto Ntoba, a political analyst, and Professor Musa Xulu, a Zulu cultural expert and founder of Indonza Yesizwe, also an African historian. And at the heart of our discussion is whether we're asking the question whether the ANC is following in the path of other liberation movements. You said, Prof, that, this is the evolution of democracy. And you're saying in many ways this is a good thing for democracy, that the ANC at this point is under the 50% mark. And you say that, there has to be an agenda. And I ask myself as you're talking, how do you, particularly in relation to the youth, right? How do you push an agenda when you are hungry? Because the youth of today, we have to remember the average South African, as they say, is 26, 27 years old. The youth of today, you spoke of how Jews around the world are reminded constantly around the Holocaust, around, what it is that makes them Jews as a thing that sort of unites every Jew everywhere in the world. And how do you preserve an agenda for Africans when, for example, young people in South Africa are thinking, right now I'm hungry, right now I don't have a job, I don't have time to be thinking about an agenda?
Well, KG and your listeners, Mr. Ntola and Tate, the problem that comes after liberation is fixable only through the education system. If you don't fix the education system to respond to the economies of the world, you'll find a lot of education graduates, matric, university, TVET college, being unemployable. The problem that we're facing in South Africa today is that you go to grade 12 and you are skilled in nothing. You have been able to memorize some history book and so on and so on, but the system does not allow you to respond to the challenges of the world today. We are now in what is called global knowledge economy. So in the past, you would pass standard 6 and go and work in the mines. That is dying. It's a dying kind of jobs, those kinds of jobs. And then, of course, the fourth industrial revolution is all digitized and everything is moving in that direction. Fix the education system. That is what the ANC government is facing as a major challenge. And secondly, learn from the presidency of Thabo Mbeki. Thabo Mbeki was able to get 2/3 majority. Why? because he was able to comprehend the problem of South Africa and even intellectualize it. One of the things that happened, for example, during his tenure was the Izimbizo, where government was constantly present in communities, explaining problems, IDPs, integrated development planning, explaining problems to society. Sometimes people are not wanting these things today, but they want to know what is happening and when is our turn going to come for us to have water or electricity or houses.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a government that stays away in offices and everyone is big, and then after hours they go to where they just make themselves happy, you will have a problem. Look, the Homeland government, for example, did not do much, but Principal Ngosulu Pires was able to maintain 22 years of KwaZulu Homeland government because he was constantly present in society, but they did not even do any roads or any water or any of those things. People want to know, and money must be spent on the consultative meetings with society. That is the cornerstone of democracy. If we follow the Greek model of formation of democracy, the town hall meetings, Izimbizo and so on. Once you take that away, you will have a situation of restlessness because people don't know what you are doing. That's what we're facing now. All that government talks about is we're saving money. You save money until you are no longer in government. The second thing, of course, that is a problem to democracy's post-liberation is ethnicity. Throughout Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, we live in the especially rural communities. We live in enclaves where our forefathers lived. And sometimes if somebody from another ethnic group becomes a president, we become unhappy. And that's what we saw, for example, here in KZN. President Tamumpe was very big, good. He understood where we were going, but he was removed into 2007 because Zulu suddenly wanted to have their turn.
Yes.
Yes, that's what happened. And then when President Ramaphosa comes in, all sorts of insults. He's got a big nose. He's got this and that and this and that. But he is actually busy trying to fix the problem that happened between 2007 and 2017 in this country. And that's why he is unpopular.
So, it brings me here, right? And this one I pose to the both of you. And I like the fact that you bring the issue of the personalities because they themselves brought the issue of the personalities to the fore, right? They brought their first Deputy Secretary General brought the issue of the personalities to the fore by bringing Mbeki and what they did to Mbeki when they went to Polokwane and post-Polokwane, of course, in the form of the recall. But I like the fact that you bring the issue of the personalities that after Mbeki, they said, it's time for a Zuluan to get in. And after a Zuluan got in, Ramaphosa got in. And I like what you're saying about the issue of tribalism and the things they said about, they say about what he looks like, they say about his wealth, etc. Is the ANC able to adapt and have an honest reflection of its own mistakes? Is it able to be an organization that honestly looks at the mistakes that they themselves have made, including how they treated their own personalities, how they were not able to take learnings from the best of themselves, and how they did not preserve the things that you're talking about, that you're saying came across or, happened during the Mbeki era. Are they able to adapt? Or will that end up leading to them perishing, as Makura said, adapt or perish?
I think the first instance we need to look at, right, when we're looking at the adaptation of the ANC, but also the identification of mistakes, right? Very long ago, even before Polokwane, there was a discussion that they had internally about the nature of contestation inside the ANC. And one of the points was, why is it that in the ANC they are chasing and applauding non-contestation of positions? And in particular, the biggest problem that they had was that of Ace Magashule, that everywhere where Ace Magashule would contest, he'd go uncontested.
Yes.
And everyone would cheer for that non-contestation. Somebody actually put up to say, but that non-contestation is an actual weakness in the ANC. It means nobody is willing to come up against Ace Magashule, not because they don't think they'll beat him, but they're thinking about the backlash of not beating him.
As they say in the street, Bamutsaba.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so now the biggest problem then in the ANC, that was one of the biggest problems coming up, is that the lack of contestation and the lack of contestation of ideas led to an idea drought inside the ANC. There was no brain trust any longer, because even the brain trust started to be called by names, right? The clever blacks, they think they're clever, they think they're smart. The Youth League, once it started its brain trust sort of nature, when Floyd Shivambu was putting out papers, when Fikile Mbalula himself was putting out papers in order to digest under Mukhabulo, they all then were called names, and that there was a backlash, there was an anti-intellectualism inside the ANC, that a thinking cadre became a problematic cadre. All you needed to do was to sing and become popular and don't think about too many things, and you would start to succeed within the ranks. And I think that was one of the first problems. And they've never seemed to get out of that quandary, right? You still see people, even in parliament now, who other people have to write speeches for. They go there and read word for word the speeches they don't understand. And nobody seems to have an objection to that. But if it was a healthy party, everybody would have said, but Comrade Leto can't read. And Comrade Leto doesn't seem to be able to contribute here in Parliament. Let's take him down to the branches again, because we think his popularity in the branches doesn't translate to his political acumen. And so we need politically sound people here.
Yeah.
But the problematic part is that everybody else is bringing their brain trust to the match, right? The DA is bringing their best of the best. The EFF is bringing the best of the best. The ANC is the only one left bringing people who are there because they're in the social club. He doesn't have a big nose. He's a Zulu, he's a Sutu, not because they're excellent. And that is becoming the biggest problem in the ANC.
So populism, to what extent is the issue of populism a problem? And to what extent should they use it to their advantage when they go to the next local government elections? And to what extent should they take the issue of modernizing into consideration? Because somebody can easily say, yeah, you can say there's a brains sort of deficit, but there's people like what's his name, the electricity and energy minister Ramokgopa. Some of the sharpest minds there currently are him. That they quote as some of their stars. Their new stars. They quote, for example, Thembi Nkadimeng, etc. The issue of populism, and I want to stay with you, Leto. To what extent should they keep that as something that they take as they redefine as they go to the local government elections? And then how do they infuse modernization, looking at and staring at the issues of now to make sure that as they go again to the local government elections, they're able to meet today's issues with today's vigor?
I think one of the biggest problems is that populism, right? Once you are a Ramokgopa, we want to make you a superstar, right? We want to make you a celebrity, we want to clap hands, keep dancing in clubs, even though you are brilliant, right? And that kind of mix, I think, is also problematic for the ANC, because in other parties, so let's take the DA, for example, right? Right now, Natasha Mazzoni was a rising star. But instead of trying to propel her into a celebrity status that makes her obsolete to the party, they dragged her back into a committee that then led to the type of thinking that makes her excel, right? It's the same thing that they're doing with a member called Ashomela Butwa. It's a young lady who was also excelling and propelling to that stratified level. They pulled her down to the legislature in the Eastern Cape and started her in a committee that would propel her in a brain trust. And so when you're looking at Ramokgopa, he has no other backup. It's just him, right? But in other parties, they build teams that would make that kind of person even much better than what you think. And they're more than happy for that person to disappear for 4 or 5 months, to go and re-strategize where they envision the party being, and even themselves to re-strategize where they want to be in the party leadership, even giving them the option of an exit if they want to. And so the ANC doesn't even have that. You have a Ramokgopa, we put him there, make him electricity minister, and hope that he rebuttals the EFF alone. Everybody else is there to scream and shout and clap hands for him. And I think that's the problem, the isolation of the populace inside the ANC. But then lastly, their evolution must go hand in hand with the evolving landscape of South Africa. The other thing is that the ANC has not has not evolved with South Africa as it moved on from 1994. And that kind of separation has always led to the isolation of the ANC.
Yeah. Let's allow you to cough. Let's allow you to cough. I've got calls, and then we'll continue with some questions I have for the Prof. I'm going to ask the people that are on the line to be brief and to the point as they direct their questions to our panelists, so that we allow for time for our panelists to still have time to analyze their thinking. Felix in the Eastern Cape, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Please be brief and to the point so that we can continue our conversation.
Yeah, no, I can be, I cannot be, but now all I can say, there's no advice given to the ANC. The ANC knows very well the wrongs they did to us for the past 30 years. They know very well. Now, all of a sudden, they don't know. They know very well. They know very well. The Ramaphosa, the whole works, they know what they did to the people and what they were treating. At one stage, the same lady, what's her name?
Nomvula Mkonyan.
Nomvula Mkonyan said some of our votes were smelling. You know,
smelling.
People want smelling votes, yeah, because people were complaining about service delivery. If you care to know. Now, I wonder what they want now. Do they want to say what votes do they want? They can't control us as if we belong to them.
Okay.
We are the government. The people of South Africa, the masses of South Africa are the governing, are the people governing. You only coming to govern. You can't be a government. Who you going to govern without the people of South Africa?
Point made.
They've made a mess, and we want to bring them down again 2026.
Okay. Point made. Thank you.
There's nothing that we've done.
Okay. Thank you, Felix. Brian in Cape Town. Hi, Brian.
Good morning to you and your guest.
Yes.
I see you've touched on many different subjects, populism and ethnicity, etc., etc. But what I want to just comment on, just to be brief, is that, number one, I do not believe that a true democracy is possible in a capitalist society, number one. The problem that I have with the ANC, secondly, is that they continue to use this ethnic divisive tactics of labeling people Zulus, Indian, coloreds, etc. We've seen throughout the continent of Africa that ethnicity is the cause of millions of deaths throughout the country. We've seen that the deaths of the so-called Zulus being pitted against Indians in Nanda. We've seen the massacre of Tutsis in Rwanda. We've seen the problem in Ethiopia, Eritrea by the Dirkwas, and the list goes on. You see, the problem is they continue to entrench ethnic division and tribal division by labeling people.
I don't know, Brian. They call themselves a non-racial party, but I think you've put your point across. I have to go to break. Vuyiso in Parktown. I'll come back with you, and Thandiswa in Matlasana. I have to go to break.
So Sharon at office was telling me the way drip is so expensive these days. She's now waiting for her old clothes to come back into fashion. I say, Joza, while you're waiting, why not let your money do the things in a Nedbank Just Invest account where you can get your money after 24 hours notice? Oganchani voiceman.
In Jalo Mabel, you can earn up to 8.75% interest. Anyone can open an investment account via the Money app in under 2 minutes. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. You are listening to KG Mwekezi on SAFM.
Welcome back, guys. When I say be quick, please be quick, because when we have to go to break, we really do have to go to break. We use computerized systems. We have no choice. The system goes to break when it has to go to break, whether we like it or we don't like it. Vuiswa in Parktown, hi.
Hi, Khomuso. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes.
You know what? I think the problem here with the DSG, Comrade Nombula, these words that she used, that the ANC is not going to die in their hands, it is the words that Oliver Tambo kept on talking about in exile, that when you return back home, the warning is that ANC must not perish in your hands. So she mustn't use the words as if it comes from her own thinking. It is the words that they've been reminded of every day, ANC members to know about it. And on the Oliver, on the Utabo issue, I don't want to actually disrespect him, but this is not right, because he hasn't given us an accounting for the African Renaissance Project, what happened. And we know what happened, we've had, and we want him to come and tell us what happened.
Okay.
And the NIPAT. But all what I can tell you with the liberation movement is that they are infiltrated from day one they start. The very liberals that we want them to be in the movement, they are the ones destroying the movement.
Okay.
And they go and infiltrate it. So if you are going to win this, we have to go back to who we are, our history. Forget about accommodating who and who is not there and there, who you don't know who they are, why they are there.
Okay. Thank you, Vuiswa. Thandisa Matlosana, hi.
Hi, Cathy. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Quickly to the point.
Good, Cathy. Cathy, I want to touch on a number of issues. That is why ANC is so on issue of ANC. What is GNU? You know, ANC, what is eating ANC? All of us members of ANC, from branch level to region to province to national, we have to move out on issues of factionalism, where you get people sitting somewhere at night and discuss issues of who must be the president, who must be the premier, who must be whatever, mayors and whatever. That thing is eating ANC. Because people who come from opposition parties, they don't, when they come back from opposition parties, they come to ANC. And they've been given position of mayors, they go to parliament.
Okay.
And then that means other people who are in ANC, who have been in ANC, being loyal to ANC, They just look after this thing and said, Mari,
Okay.
this is not ANC that we want.
Okay, Thandisa. Let's try and find solutions. Is this the end of the ANC as we know it? Is the ANC, Prof, able to redefine itself, right? Because, and I think they get that as they go to the next local government elections, that it's a critical juncture for them. It's almost the do or die phase. What they say to us is they will not die. What do you say? What happens? Is there a comeback?
Well, definitely it's possible. The ANC actually, like all other liberation movements, had a program of uniting South Africans.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that very well until they blundered in 2005 when President Mbeki expelled Mr. Jacob Zuma because of corruption charges. And then they propelled Jacob Zuma to presidency. And then those years, from 2007 to 2017, were basically lost. Why? Because instead of intellectualizing, the ANC started being a dancing party. Jacob Zuma would go anywhere and dance, and people would be happy, go home, no discussions of anything serious. And then when Ramaphosa comes in, he came in, his first thing to do was to undo the damage that had been done. And that has really taken the ANC back by many miles. How do they come back? There are two things. Don't run away from intellectuals. Stop this thing of the singer in some conference or meeting being the next leader of some sort, because the singer often should be singing somewhere in a playhouse or anywhere else, not here in the ANC, because this is a political movement. Thirdly, fix education. Education is a big problem because of the content in the education system that makes people to go to grade 12, and all that is celebrated is just the percentages. Oh, we've got 84%. 84% of people that are unemployable. And then fifthly, go back to society. This money there in the government departments must be used to propel democracy in the Greek style. Go to town halls, engage communities, go there and account regularly, as President Thabo Mbeki was doing. Without that, I can tell you, it's not going to be nice.
It's not going to be nice. Let's round off then with you, Lieto. Is there a way forward? Do you look at South Africa? Do you cast your mind's eye forward, let's say 10, 20 years from now, and see an ANC-led South Africa?
I think we're outside the realm of ANC leading South Africa like it did with the two-thirds majority. I think South Africans are more accepting of other ideas other than the liberation idea. And I think the ANC can only strengthen itself by being honest with itself, right? By shoring up its internal mechanism. So how do you discipline a member who doesn't fulfill the burden, not only of the ANC, but of the society? How do you discipline a member who's corrupt before the courts discipline that member? How do you deal with a minister who's not performing before the people notice the non-performance? All of those things must be the predicate of the party and not the people or a newspaper coming to tell you. And once the ANC gets a hold of that, then the people will start to reinvest their trust in them again. But right now the trust deficit exists way too loosely for the ANC to survive in the form that it does today. If they keep on with this, there'll be no ANC in 10 years.
Wow. And how do you think they will do in the next local government elections then, if that's the case?
I think they'll do worse, but the competition there is less intense as it is at national level. Because at the national level, the other parties, like I say, are bringing their brain trust. But on the local government level, the other parties are still not having the presence that they should to challenge the ANC significantly. So we're going to see that significant challenge is in the metros where they know they can target the ANC. But in the smaller villages and towns, it becomes much harder for those parties to exist. And I think that lack of existence is going to be the savior for the ANC. But if they don't use that saving grace, they're still going to lose those parts once people are brave enough to open alternative parties in the municipality.
Unfortunately, therein, we're going to have to leave it, and I appreciate so much your time, your thoughts, your insights. Leatontoba, political analyst, Professor Musa Qulu, Zulu cultural expert, African historian, and founder of Indonza Yesizwe. I appreciate your time. Thank you to the both of you. It's 11. Modupi Mohlahlana is standing by with the news.
Thank you very much, Khomotso. The top stories this hour: U.S. recession fears cause Asian stock markets to fall, and a burglary suspect shot dead in Polokwane. A very good morning to you. Fears of a possible recession in the U.S. have prompted big falls on the Asian stock markets. At one point, share prices in Japan plummeted by more than 10%, triggering a temporary halt in trading. More from the BBC's Mariko Oi.
From Japan, South Korea to Taiwan, Asian shares are deeply in the red as they take their cue from Wall Street. Investors are concerned that a long-running jobs boom in the US might be coming to an end. The torrent of selling triggered circuit breakers in some exchanges across the region. For Japan, last week's rate hike is another cause of the sell-off. It's made stocks in Tokyo more expensive for foreign investors. It's also strengthened the value of the yen, which is what the authorities wanted, but it affects the bottom line of Japanese exporters.
A burglary suspect has been shot and killed by security officers in Polokwane. A security alarm was activated in one of the business premises yesterday, and security officers responded. The suspect is alleged to have been cutting copper cables in the building. Police spokesperson Malesala Ledwaba says the man was shot dead when he refused to surrender and threatened the officers with a knife.
During the pursuit, the suspect got into a dangerous confrontation, leading officers to take action in order to protect public safety. The chase ended when the suspect was shot by security guards. Further investigation will be conducted to determine the circumstances surrounding the incident.
Investigations into the crash between a scholar transport bus and a train in Mpumalanga by the railway safety regulator state that the bus driver did not adhere to the road signage at the level crossing. The crash happened last Wednesday at a level crossing on the R104 between Arno and Wonderfontein in Middelburg. 6 learners were killed. Transnet says the investigation has confirmed that the protection of signage at the level crossing at Arno was compliant with safety standards. Schooling has been disrupted at Bakotsele Primary in Soshanguve, north of Pretoria. The learners say their school has been without a permanent principal there since 2017. They say they've been pleading with the education district to intervene, but this has fallen on deaf ears. The parents say there are 2 acting deputy principals, and one of them is ill-treating the parents and the learners.
This principal is so very disrespectful towards
the parents say this principal is so disrespectful towards workers, parents and learners. The way she treats the learners, it is totally out of hand. Today they want answers from the district as promised in January.
And the city of Tshwane has raised concerns about what it calls water tanker mafias that are taking advantage of the current water challenges to benefit themselves, pushing up the cost of providing tankers to almost 100 million rand a year. The city's Temba Fosi says in some areas like Bronkhorstspruit, the so-called water tanker mafias go to the extent of tampering with the city's infrastructure.
That is 98 million, excluding emergencies. If you add other emergencies of outages, faults on our system or leakages, it goes far more than that. There's areas like Mamelodi in the Ikahing where there's quite a huge illegal connection that has been tapped there, so you find that ratepayers don't have access to water. So water tankers come in. You've got areas like Hammanskraal where there's no potable water, so we rely on water tankers. The people who are now sabotaging our system, intentionally breaking the valves. This is so that we can be able to get the services.
The top story at 11 o'clock, fears of a possible recession in the U.S. Have prompted big falls on the Asian stock markets. For SAFM News, Cathy Mohlahlana.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Good morning, SAFM and all the listeners. I want to ask if you can organize the Premier of Gauteng because I want to ask him the project of Ekurhuleni housing, because ever since I was waiting the housing, because I was registered on 2017. So I want to know what kind of action now, because it's been a while, so I don't know anything what's going on there. Ekurhuleni in Katlehong. Thanks.
Good morning. ANC, the ruling party, since from 1994, they could have hit the ground and running, but they were too comfortable and too relaxed. And then it shows that they forgot their aims and objective of liberation struggle. So that brought them here now, that we are at the moment. Yeah. NP hit the ground running from 1948 to early 70s and 80s. So ANC relaxed too much. This is Morocco Malas Tafluko Limpopo.
Hi, SKG and South Africans and your team as well. It's Eddie from Ondersres. Thank you for the anonymous who brought the lady's case before you guys, and I know you'll definitely assist the lady. It's a painful story. I don't know where Ubuntu Buyepi. You know, people are so cruel. I think you guys please assist the lady. There's a lot of bullying in this country, and you know it's so painful when it's a woman involved. Thank you very much. I appreciate and your engagement as well with Anonymous. This is the power of radio, the importance of radio. Thank you very much.
As KG and fellow SFM listeners, good morning. My name is Tulani Nzima in Croydon. I do not think the ANC leaders currently even understand why did the ANC lose so many votes, unless it was the mission of Abo Ramaphosa to achieve exactly that, because South Africans only want service delivered. They don't care about the infighting and all of that of the ANC. They just want simple stuff. The majority wants decent houses in form of RDPs. How difficult can that be when we know for a fact that we do not have monetary problems but spending problems? Where have you seen somebody being given money and then they return unused after a whole 12 months, more than 500 million, when you've got so many students who are crying daily for funding? It just does not make sense. These people are not interested in executing service delivery. Thank you.
Hi, KJ, the listeners. I'm just going to give my personal 2 cents. There's nobody's judge on this, everything. So my thing is that the ANC belief system, they don't have a belief system. They don't have confidence. They could have gone with MK and EFF and PA and NCC, those kind of parties. But now you see, the thing is that we still believe we can't save ourselves. We still believe we can't do it ourselves. So that's why we choose the DA and we form a government of national unity. That means nothing. They should have gone with the peoples and say, listen, let's go and let's sit to the table and let's check. We know what is the issues between ourselves and our people. So why don't we go with them? Yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
KG, we are yet to see the promised dawn that Ramaphosa promised South Africa when he took over. A new dawn. What is the new dawn? Unemployment?
Morning, KG. Yo, the guy from the river.
I think he said he comes from Zimbabwe. The one you just asked that says that we are not united as South Africans. Oh no, my guy, he needs to read more, listen more, go around more. He only came 2007. Nah. He got it all wrong. Our system works because now we have different people from different ethnic groups, different cultures, black, white, colored, working together. That's why we're getting there slowly but for surely. Yeah.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
So thank you very much for those voice notes. Keep them coming on 061-410-4107. That's 061-410-4107. Welcome to the third and final hour at 11:11 of the Talking Point on Monday, the 5th of August. And we are SFM leading the conversation. You're welcome to join that conversation whenever you want to on 086 000 2032, 086 0002032. So, as we commemorate hashtag Women's Month, we're kicking off a series on the show of conversations with women across various sectors in the workplace. We wanted to unpack some of the challenges, the triumphs, and the opportunities that exist to advance equality and empowerment for the next generation by speaking to captains of industries at the 30-year milestone and have them share their reflections. Today, we start with the financial services and unpack some of the misconceptions that exist in the sector, whether it be the climbing of the ladder of leadership or the expanding your horizons when it comes to seizing opportunities for growth outside of the traditional vocational options. To help us share their journeys and share what impact women can make in their industry, we're joined in the studio. We have Lindega Dzedze, who is an economist, head of strategic partnerships and global markets at the Standard Bank Group and chairperson of the African Women Impact Fund Executive Committee. Good morning, Lindega.
Good morning, KG. Thanks
for
having me.
For coming. Buhle Hanise is on the line. Buhle is a chartered accountant and chief operating officer at BDO and president of the African Women Chartered Accountants. Good morning, Buhle.
Morning, KG. How are you?
Hi, Buhle. I thought your line had not been cleared, but I want to start at I heard a very interesting analogy because I was thinking yesterday. Okay, here we go. It's August because I've been on the radio for a long time, and every August when I'm on the radio, I've interviewed many women, and we've talked about challenges. What challenges do they face? I've attended events, and I was thinking, okay, here we go. But then I saw something, I think it was on the news, and I think it was Kamala Harris, actually. Because, of course, we are there even with them and their politics. And she was talking about what breaking barriers meant for her, which made me look at it differently. She said, the thing that we don't speak about when we say first of whatever or a barrier breaker of whatever, because people end the conversation when they say, this is the first woman whatever, or the barrier breaker woman whatever. They end it there. They forget what happens for that woman inside that environment, because you get into that environment. You literally have to break the barrier. You literally have to deal with the people who look down on your capability. You literally have to do the slogging of the being the first, because the slogging means people judge whether you're really capable. Because people think once they introduce you and they say first chartered accountant or first whatever, that's it, the victory's done. But there's still many steps that you have to walk, you yourself as a woman who's been given that opportunity. Lindega, morning.
Morning, Khamoza. It's funny, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, were you in our conversation last week?
Yeah.
This is exactly what we're talking about.
What happened in that conversation?
It was exactly the same. And even this morning with Kanya.
Yeah.
That it does not end.
It doesn't end, does it?
The journey continues. And funny enough, it is exactly everything you've articulated in terms of being one of many or the first.
Yes.
We still face the structural gender biases
Yes.
that you have in terms of also our capabilities. And where oftentimes you have to make sure then that, you say something, I say something, but my male colleague says it a minute later.
Yes.
Suddenly, it's a resounding
and it's
response.
Yes, and it's more impactful.
It's more impactful.
It's seen as more impactful.
I was having this conversation this morning with my colleague. We were on our morning calls.
Yeah.
And she was making the same point. A male colleague made it. And then today is almost new.
Which means then these moments remain necessary.
Yes.
These conversations that we have
Yes.
in August remain necessary because it may be 1 month for us, but we deal with the challenges. Tell me about your journey in the financial service sector, because it's easy. I say when I introduce you, economist, head of strategic partnership at global markets at Standard Bank Group, and chairperson of the African Women Impact Fund executive. It's big,
All sounds
right?
impressive.
It all sounds highly impressive, and it is actually. We shouldn't invalidate it. It is extremely, extremely impressive. But those steps, you walk alone.
Yes.
I'm not there to sprinkle those things that I add, or those nice things that I add on the radio when I introduced you. Tell me about that journey, and the steps you've had to walk as a woman in the financial services sector.
Okay, I didn't expect to be a bit more emotional. The Economist is not my title.
You're welcome, by the way, to be emotional.
No,
I think we should be allowed to be emotional. It's not a bad thing.
Not at all. I own who I am.
Yeah.
I take all of me in every space that I go to, my emotions and all. Of interest, I always tell people that I come from the dusty villages of the Eastern Cape. But I'm a child of Africa. And the reason I say that, I want to normalize that not every person who excels in something or breaking barriers has to come from private school background, from Ivy League schools overseas, speak the Queen's English. We need to normalize that. Who we are enough.
Yes.
So for that little girl in the villages of Tofimvaba, sitting in Alex, needs to know that the people that you see today, when you read what we've done, are her. Couple of years back, and for me, maybe a couple of years back. So when I started, you can imagine, it was not as if there was before it was, be a doctor, nurse, or a teacher. And I got exposed to the financial sector when I was doing my law degree in Durban at the time. And really it was my lecturer in Latin who said, those who control the purse strings makes all the decisions. And I thought, interesting, and that was a light bulb moment for me. And my journey was not linear in terms of straightforward. There was no BE when I started. There was no graduate internship programs. So I had to find my way, go underneath the bridges, climb mountains to get there. And I started in corporate finance at the time, which was a big learning curve. And the most important thing was the people that taught us were people that had drama degrees and they were heading up private equity. Some had literature degrees and didn't have anything to do with the finance space. And all they said is, if you've been to university, you've been taught to think and analyze. And I also had, I tell this story, one of the guys at Standard Bank at the time, I don't think I've even met him. I think he used to head up, I'm not sure if it was project finance, but I think he had a literature degree. I held on to that one story, and that was my guiding light. And I had to find my way. So I started working at Hembros in corporate finance, bruising. I learned a lot. And I realized I really love the pulse and the heartbeat of markets. And it covers a wide scope in terms of macroeconomics. You have to be exposed to everything. That's the engine that makes everything tick. And I joined trading, which was incredible for me because working with international firms, nobody cared if you were yellow, green, black, blue, as long as you were doing what you needed to do. And at that time, we were trading on Bloomberg and other spaces. I could be trading with somebody in Russia, in Chile. Nobody cared, as long as they had what I needed what they needed from me. So it became of I back me, my capabilities. They care about what I have to deliver, not what I look like. And that journey has been one of the things that have been resounding in my space, that I have to back me. I need to know what I'm capable of, and I need to back myself in the spaces that I go into. And I moved from that, from trading with international firms, being the only female, to getting into working with Standard Bank when I joined, and that was a conscious and deliberate decision. I wanted to be in the pulse and the heart of Africa. And what Standard Bank stands for, who we are and what we do, to me spoke volumes. And it was the boat that I chosen. It was important to make sure I'm in the right boat. So going into Standard Bank was also a deliberate move. So I guess what I'm saying is you have to be making decisions and plans, just like you plan for your holidays, for your studies, for whatever you're going to do. Be deliberate, intentional in terms of this is what I want to do. And the road may not be the same for you because you're not the immediate or the obvious choice. So when I was chartered trading, I was the only female, only black person, the youngest on the team. Didn't let that stop me. And it meant to, what are the most performing people? What were they doing? And I had to do that. And I was talking to clients that nobody was allowed to speak to at the time. And I just learned, what do the people that are doing better than others in this space doing? And those are the people that I compared myself against. And that has been my journey.
Fantastic. Unfortunately, I'm forced to go to a commercial break because of the space that I am in. But when we come back, I'll hear the journey of Buhle Hanise, Chartered Accountant and Chief Operating Officer. The spotlight is on misconceptions in the financial services sector, and we're zoning in on women. Buhle Hanise and Linde Gatsetse are my guests.
Winners, finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Tamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
Witness the global battle of great athletes from South Africa and from all over the world in the Olympic Games Paris 2024. From the heart-pounding races on the track to the graceful routines on the gymnastics floor, each event promises to deliver moments of sheer brilliance and sporting excellence. Live the intense rivalries, inspiring comebacks, and record-breaking performances right here across all SABC TV channels, SABC radio stations, on the move with SABC Plus, or online on sabcsport.com. #the Global Battle of Great Athletes. The Olympic Games Paris 2024. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Tweet at SFM Radio and at KG Moeketsi.
So many fascinating conversations I'm even having, even behind the scenes, with Linde Gatsetse. We're talking Women's Month, misconceptions in the financial services sector. Buhle.
Hi, KG, I'm here.
I want to hear your journey. I want to also track your journey because one of the things Lindega just reminded me of is that, we women, even outside of August, we're women, and the dynamics and the challenges and the mountains and the valleys and the things that we have to navigate, we navigate even outside of Women's Month. I want to hear about the journey that you have had to navigate to get to where you have gotten to.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, KG. Okay, maybe just a little correction. I was previously the COO of Business Restructuring Services. I have now taken over as the head of Business Restructuring at BDO. So a promotion, KG, in a way. And I'm here with Umkayawa Mulindeka. I'm also from the Eastern Cape in a small town called Umtata.
Oh, wow. Hey, Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape girls in the house. Maybe my story might be a little bit different to hers, but I don't think my story is unique. Also, from a Transkei, it's a previously disadvantaged town. My family encouraged us to, get an education. It was always your way out of anything or any situation that you were currently in. And I was fortunate enough, I made a decision of becoming a chartered accountant early on in my life, around maybe 13, 14, 15 years of age. I had to make a decision at my school around which career path I wanted to pursue. And I was fortunate enough at the time, the second female, African female CA came to our school because that's where she studied, Usindi Zilwa, to let us know about the CA profession. And I mean, I carried that through all the way through my difficulties while studying and also trying to find bursaries to further my studies, because when I finished my degree at University of Transkei, my sister was supposed to start her journey at a university. So my dad was like, "Oh, okay, no, then you can go and do your articles and you can do your CTA/honors part-time." But I was just not interested in that. I was fortunate enough that we had lecturers like Prof. Zakuza at the time at my university, who was really, really instrumental in ensuring that, aspiring chartered accountants are given an opportunity to study. And we were given an opportunity by Auditor General, who gave us bursaries to study. And also for my CTA, I had to get another bursary because the bursary that I got from AG was just for my postgrad. And I was also fortunate that there was a director by the name of Lando Bantom at SAICA who encouraged us to join the Tutuka program. That was encouraging, aspiring chartered accountants to pursue their CA journey. And that's how my life was always about. There was always a person that was next to me that wanted to encourage me, because I was this young girl, a papayo, who knew very well what she wanted. And I wasn't going to let anything stop me to get my CA. And I guess, KG, the reason why I'm also telling you about that journey is because when I qualified, I made that decision that I wanted to also give back, which is why I am sitting now as the president of the African Women Chartered Accountants, which is mainly, and it was founded by 4 ladies, Zodo Manase, Cindy Zilwa, the lady that I spoke to you about, Cindy Mabasokoyana, and Cindy Mohabuti. These ladies saw that there was a need to ensure that there's a pipeline of African female CAs all throughout South Africa. And we have been trying by all means to ensure that people don't go through all the difficulties that we went through, and give them the opportunity. Once they have decided to become CAs, they must know that they've got the sisterhood, they've got the support structure that they can lean on. And I finalized my articles at KPMG, qualified there, and I also joined the financial services, Lindeka as well. I went to both Nedbank and Standard Bank, and I was doing pure credit. Yes, difficulties were there, and I think that's what's most important, is the fact that when I was going through those difficulties, I know in one of the banks, I struggled a lot because the environment was not conducive to my liking. That's why I think I moved then to Standard Bank. And I also went as further as going into a developmental finance at the IDC, where I spent 10 years of my life. And that's when I think, maturity came through as a woman leader, and to understand that I have to, develop as a lead, and also what we call, which is our motto at the AWCA, to ensure that we lift as we rise, because the reality is that women are still facing some challenges. And I do believe that we still have to continue to have these conversations. Yes, Women's Month we own, but these conversations definitely need to go further than August. And I always say that they need to go further out of August, and we must include the men in those conversations, because some of them are still decision makers in these spaces that we're in. So that's me, KG.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating to hear both your stories, but it's also particularly fascinating for me to hear your backgrounds and where it is that you come from. Because one of the things that we spoke about, Lindeka and I, when we were off air, is that the perception exists that you have to come at least from the basis of a Model C school and upwards, and be in an urban urban setting to be, a financial service sector player, woman in South Africa. I'm going to go to the news headlines, and then I'm going to come and talk leadership. Because you're both in, Lindega is the chairperson of the African Women Impact Fund Executive Committee. You're the president of the African Women Chartered Accountants. You made an interesting point about needing to continue these conversations even outside of Women's Month, and needing to have men in the room as you have these conversations. So let's continue after the news headlines. It's 11:30. Modupi Mohlahlana is standing by.
Thank you very much, KG, and a very good morning. In your headlines, the Water and Sanitation Minister Cathy Mohlahlana says the construction of Phase 1 of a plant that will enable clean water to be provided to Hammanskraal, north of Pretoria, will be completed by October. One person has been killed in eSikaleni on the KZN North Coast in a shootout with the police, and fears of a possible recession in the US have prompted big falls on the Asian stock markets. I'll be back with a full news update at noon.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's the first elimination challenge, and to stay in the competition, the bottom 6 contestants must channel their inner Italian by baking a delicious handmade pizza using leftovers from the fridge. Who will survive to bake another day? Find out on the Tastemaster Junior. Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1, and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
What advice then would you give the school, and what advice would you give the country in whether it's healing this issue of racism, particularly in school?
Very, very easy for the school, which is use this as an opportunity to address the issue more broadly. Don't try and hide the story. Put it out there, have workshops, speak in assemblies, call the parents, but use this as an opportunity to reclaim decency in the school, to say what is wrong and what you stand for.
Jonathan Jansen, a Prof of Education at the University of Stellenbosch.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
Listen, I got tempted yesterday, I tell you, when you're in the company of great people and you meet dealers from your favorite car brand and they offer you incredible discounts based on who you are. I got tempted. That time I just finished my car and I kept
Avoid the edge. It will help you a million. I promise you. So think about it. You have the property. This car is now yours. You're not bonded, not funded.
Yeah.
You can actually drive that car for 2 more years. In that two more years, how much money would you have saved?
That's the truth.
What quality of life would you have? Or what other payments, creditors would you have closed off with the premium that you were paying towards that car? So sometimes we need to avoid the edge of getting new.
That's the truth. Rapule Mahlangu is the head of associations and affinity.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
#SAFM Talking Point.
The talking point today is on misconceptions in the financial services sector. And on the spotlight is Linde Gatzetse, and she is the African Women Impact Fund Executive Committee Chairperson and an economist and a head of strategic partnerships and global markets at the Standard Bank Group. Buhlehla Hanise just got promoted COO at BDO and president of the African Women Chartered Accountants. So these conversations, you say, must continue, Lindega. And women are women, even outside of August. I loved that, by the way. That we remain women, even outside of. But who drives these conversations then outside of August? And because sometimes it's almost like we're almost like. What's the word I want to use? Like we are the CSI, because companies will budget, will say, okay, for August, what are we going to do? Okay, we have to do something for Women's Month. We can have an event, and that particular event we can have whoever who will focus and tick will be done with it, and that's it. We'll do it again next year, and life goes on, and the circle continues, but nothing fundamental really shifts. How do we make sure that something really fundamental shifts? I was so moved when you said to me that you're here because you want to inspire a little girl who's in a village to know that they too are capable of becoming a somebody at Standard Bank, and they don't need to speak the Queen's English to be able to advance at Standard Bank or be in the financial services sector. How do they know, even outside of Women's Month, who to talk to? What do they do to get into the financial services space? How do we continue these conversations, and where do these conversations even go outside of August?
Thank you. Halala buhle on your promotion. Siyakujabulela mntasekhaya. You made you made a point. You and Buhle, I think, which Kanya and myself and Khumuto were making in the room. We are the choir.
We are the choir.
We need the men in the room, because when you sit around the table, oftentimes, even today, there's very few of us that are women. And not just sitting, I mean sitting and making decisions. And when you, as a woman, are sitting at the table or you walk into a room, you are very mindful of the lack of diversity. You will clearly scan the room and know if you're the only female, if the only person of color. So there's always an international intentionality and deliberation that has to go into all of these decisions when we make them. And it also means that when we, in the businesses that we drive, are making decisions to employ people, we cast the net wider. If you look at our history in this country, when 80% of the population was not allowed to participate, you and I were excluded. For that to happen here, to change laws, it has to be that drastic. So what I'm saying, in our space, this is an economic space. This is the financing world. We have to be deliberate to make sure that it happens. And I'm going to speak about my organization, and it's not perfect. And you're asking, how do we carry this forward? Yes, there is a regulatory requirement to comply, but I'm going to speak about my journey and what I see happening at Standard Bank.
Absolutely.
I always tell people that I choose to work for Standard Bank every day. I choose to. There's a big difference there.
I love that, particularly even at the kind of time that we're in. A lot of people don't choose the companies that they work for.
Yes.
They need work.
Yes.
They don't choose work.
So that's a privilege I'm actually making out there so that people know. Yes, I've had to work hard. I'm at a point where now I can say, this is the boat, this is the one that I want to be in. And there's reasons, fundamental reasons for that. And that speaks to me as to the type of organization that it is. The leadership, representation matters. Representation matters at the top, because we know that the decisions that are being made are for Africa, and the matters that are important in terms of financial inclusion, and that speaks having women at the table, is also a key deliverable and a priority at the bank.
That's powerful.
And what I want to talk about, Khumuzo, for me, as to why these should be a deliberate act across all organizations is, if you look on the continent, more than 50% of the population is women. We know that if you included women, if we were to drive this diversity, we have the opportunity to lift the GDP of the continent by 10% by 2025. So we're literally sitting on an opportunity that we're not utilizing. So you have half of your workforce that you can get so much from not participating. So it's actually a business imperative. It's not a nice to have. It's not a CSI. It has also been proven by performance. If you look at value creation in businesses that are women-led or more diverse, if you look at fine performance in the businesses that have women as leaders, and that is actually one of the things that we miss as an opportunity. On top of that, you look at the structural barriers that women face. So I have a data point that I like because I'm in the financial space.
Of course.
So women
You're a
face.
numbers girl.
So women face, and also this is a sector that's particular, that's of interest to me. I'm a village girl.
Yes.
And if you look at on the continent, most people on the continent have land. You go to Kenya, Tanzania, everyone has a piece of land.
Yes.
So the reason I want to talk about this is, firstly, if you look at the struggles and challenges that women face, there's a gender pay gap. This is a conversation for another day. Okay, and then you look about credit, the credit gap, access to finance. If you look at what that means, if you look at the women entrepreneurs across the continent, they face a staggering $42 billion shortfall in finances, especially in agriculture. This is a sector that's crucial for food security, yet women farmers struggle to access the necessary funding. And if you look into that, who are the employers on the continent? Africa leads in terms of small women businesses, and they're actually employing more creators of jobs and employment more than anybody else that's sitting at this continent. So for me, it says, if that is not a key decision matrix in your leadership space, if you are leaving half of your population behind, not participating, if you're actually not focusing on the numbers, forget leads from the Eastern Cape. If data, these are numbers that are coming from the world reputable research organizations, McKinsey's and others. If it says you have an opportunity to raise the continent's GDP by this percentage, with 2025-24, 10%, isn't that an incentive to actually make sure then that this is something that's a decision, not a target that we miss all the time? You know, transformation is the one target that everyone misses, yet a financial performance nobody misses. And for me, the question is, what should be done differently? But I will say where I come from, that the reason I also choose to be a Standard Bank, and sometimes people think I'm a spokesperson, is because I'm very proud of the organization. I see the changes, the work that I'm doing. Nobody appointed me. I'm a self-elected gender champion. The role that I currently have, I crafted. And that means I'm in an organization that actually affords me and creates the right and conducive environment. I think Buhle talked about environment. You need to create an environment for people to thrive and for women to be included. Not sending them on all the courses that no man is getting sent to. Yet we need to be fixed because we don't. We've shown it by our qualifications, our performance when we come out of universities. It is really the intentionality behind creating that environment that supports women and allows them to thrive. And I think that's, I guess, the benefit and the opportunity and the privilege that I have by being a Standard Bank. I don't know if I answered your question, Komut.
You more than answered my question.
Thank you.
But I have a question on top of a question that keeps recurring and coming every year around the issue of the pay gap. And I go back to the issue of the pay gap because I once had President Cyril Ramaphosa in the early part of his tenure. This was a while ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago. The words that he used was equal work for equal pay.
Yep.
And I hear you so glowingly speak now, and then you will say to me, you will say, that's another discussion for another day. And I ask myself, why does the issue of money and us have to be another discussion for another day? Do you want to take it, Buhle?
Hi, son. Don't want me to start with that. Look, that's definitely Ulindega is spot on, PG. It will take us your entire show to be able to understand this. This is a very critical point, which as the AWCA are very, very, very much concerned about. Our power space session that we had in Cape Town, because we have regions, AWSA regions all over South Africa. And our topic on the day was exactly because of the stats that came out of the pay gap research, that it will take 135 years for us to earn as much as what men earn.
Did you say
And our topic
135 years?
135 years. And our topic on the day was Dare to Know Your Worth. And we're talking to young people, KG, to understand that they must have the right conversations when they go into those interview rooms. You must know who you are and you must be authentic. You go into that room as Ubuhle Hanise, not anybody else. You tell them what your experience is and what you're capable of and what you're willing to learn. And as a result of all of that, I am a chartered accountant, Ulindeka economist. Why am I not getting paid the same amount of money as an equivalent male counterpart, right? So that's the conversation. We will have to have that conversation, KJ. I implore you, please do bring us back. We can definitely unpack that more. But what I wanted to touch on as well, KJ, was what Ulindeka said about enjoying her role at Standard Bank. You know, people don't understand how I can say I enjoy turning around distressed business as a head of business restructuring at BDO. It's because of exactly that. You must be in an environment that you enjoy and you're passionate about, because when difficulties come, you need to be able to have that thing that pushes you to wake up in the morning, because you're making impact. You're not just there to tick the box. Now, when I look at financials of a company that are the other way around, liabilities are way more than the assets, cash flow is nowhere to be found, I always ask myself, my goodness, where is this business? How many people are they employing? My gosh, you know how it is, especially for African people. If you take away that one job, the impact that it has on society and their family all around, right? There's that. There is that concerted effort on my part as well to say what can I do to assist my client? What more can I do? And Lindeka, that comes to my other point around the work that we also do at the African Women Chartered Accountants. We just came out of our Women's Day conference and Women of Substance Gala dinner, where we raised funds, and we awarded actually one of your colleagues, Funeka Mochani, with the Woman of Substance Award, because of the impact she does within Standard Bank. Not just in jail to tick the box. Oh yes, I run a billion rand portfolio, but she makes impact on women empowerment. She's got mentees. Her team is full of women leaders who are heading up businesses under her unit. I mean, your boss, Sim Chabalala, spoke so well of the work that she does within Standard Bank, and I know the impact that she does for us at the African Women Chartered Accountants to make sure that we continue to increase that pipeline of CAs.
I'm going to ask for permission from the producers to have this conversation have a part 2, because I think it's important. Because I'm also being kicked out, literally. Bang gota. But but I want to thank you. Thank you for the little girls in rural Eastern Cape that you hopefully left an impact on today, the both of you, as we had this conversation, and implore you to continue this conversation in September, in November, in December, in January, in February, in March, in April, etc., etc. And come back, please, when the invitation is sent out for the both of you to have part 2.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Hlanganan. Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's time for the book reading. The Door is by Abna Mariri, and thank you to the producers.
The book reading. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents another episode of The Door, an addict's journey, read by Samson Khumalo.
I'm sure they remember the state I was in before I left home. I was thin and emaciated and looked haggard, I'm sure, notwithstanding all the shenanigans they experienced. Man, I was nervous and happy at the same time. 3 months had passed and had not seen them nor them me. I'm sure they were curious as to what their dad looked like. Kids being kids, they might not have cared. As long as I was alive and well, that is all that mattered. I rushed and hugged all of them at the same time as tears rolled down my cheeks. I cried helplessly when I saw them, and we hugged and could not let go for a long time, and I was at a loss for words. These were my children, and for the first time sober in quite a long time, I laid eyes on them. This moment right here is what I was fighting to get back. This was the reason I came here, my last attempt to get back to my kids. I had already caused them so much pain. They did not ask to be brought into this world. No parent should ever do that to their children. It was all emotional and sad, and the love I felt from them, even when I had failed them so badly, was beyond comprehension. "Hello, Kuzo," I muttered some words. "Naledi, you're so grown." "Kuzo, my boy, how are you guys?" These were the only words I could muster. "We fine, Dad, we fine, Dad." That's all they said. "It's good to see you, Dad. We missed you, Dad." It was a sobering moment for me, and it hit me even more the extent of the damage I had caused. My little son Kuzo would not let me go, and he did not say much at all. We had a small counseling meeting, and I was informed that I could take them around the center and show them around. I obliged with great enthusiasm since I got to be alone with them, not in the company of counselors. We walked around the grounds of the center just reminiscing about home, school, and their well-being. I could not get all the answers I wanted to get. The time was too short. Just the sight of them brought so much joy, and I did not realize I had so many tears. As we were walking around the center, I think my little boy Kuzo muttered some words that pierced deep down in my heart of hearts. "Dad, who are these people, and why are you staying here and not home with us?" My goodness. He could not comprehend what sort of place this was, and why I had to spend so much time with so many strangers. This is the boy I took with to score for drugs. This was the boy I did not have the guts to go see in hospital because I was too busy and preoccupied with using drugs. This is the boy who almost collapsed because of the crack smoke that I had him inhale and had caused much discomfort for him and could not figure out what was wrong, when deep down I knew that it was me who did this to him. The guilt and shame was overwhelming, and he still wanted me to be around unconditionally. I didn't have any good answers, so I just said I would be home soon. It was difficult to explain, so I resorted to telling him that this is like a hospital fixing people who are sick. He asked with teary eyes, what is wrong with me? What am I sick of? They met the counselors and were invited to a session independent of their father. My two boys went to be interviewed by one counselor and my daughter by a female counselor. After the visit, we had a group meeting that was run by the owner of the center, Mr. Cooper. I never would have expected that I would be the subject matter. They had clearly retrieved some information from my children that I had not disclosed at the center. I had been there for 3 months and was informed that I was still flying under the radar. A series of questions were put to me. "Mr. Mariri, you have not been forthright about the details of your addiction. Did you use in your children's room? Did you hide drugs in your children's uniform and school bags? Did you bring drug dealers to your home to give you your stash? Did you take your kids to go and score for some drug? Did you? Did you? Did you?" I felt like being defensive and digging my heels. I just blanked out, and when I came back to my senses, it was still, did you this? Did you do this? Man, what the hell did my kids say? Before the questions could subside, I became the recipient of a barrage of accusations, ridiculed and nasty comments from my fellow addicts. I got roasted and just took it all in and never defended myself. I kept my mouth shut and took it all in. At the end, I was asked if I had anything to say, and all I could muster that came fast and furious to my mind was, "Guilty as charged." Truth be told, it was not my intention to hide anything. I probably did more than what my kids had said. I just didn't remember it all. When you consume copious amounts of drugs over an extended period of time, you tend to forget and your memory becomes somewhat weak. I was no different. My surrendered heart did not want to diminish the intensity of the chaos, pain, and hurt that I had caused. Then they told me I needed to start the program from scratch again. They said if I valued my recovery, I would need to start all over again. Then they told me I also needed to do a sexual addiction program. You have an arrogant tinge about you. You think you're better than anybody else. Where did all this come from? They were describing someone I did not know, and how did I offend these folks to speak so ill about me? Perhaps there was a tinge of truth. Best to keep quiet and not be defensive. Flying under the radar will not help you. You just need to consider your options. You don't have to be here. By the way, for the time being, we are suspending your trip to the outreach mission. You are duplicitous and you need to really consider whether you want to be here. Reflect on these issues, and when we convene group next time, we will deal with this matter and we will hear from you. Wow! I went and thought long and hard about what they had placed before me. I had been clean for over 3 months, and I felt a little stronger, and this is the longest I had ever been to recovery. And what more did I need to do? Restarting was a tall order. It basically meant that the 3 months I had already spent was a complete waste of time and money. Do I want to be here? What do they take me for? I'm not on holiday. I need my recovery and need it ASAP. Can't they pick it up from me? I was all alone and deep in my thoughts. I took long walks and reflected on the visit of my kids and my wife and all they had said to the counselors. My kids must have dropped some bombshell. It became apparent in the group that my wife's sentiments were that she was done with our marriage and that she was just concerned about me and my recovery. There were too many issues to consider. Do I go left or right? I had no one to bounce my thoughts with. I had to make hard decisions, and one decision was for me to up and leave and go back to my kids and restart correctly. Needless to say, I went to my higher power and prayed and asked for direction in this matter. What was foremost important to me was my recovery. This was my 3rd attempt at recovery, and I did not know if ever I relapsed, I would come back alive again. 3rd attempt, and a costly one for that matter, and they want me to restart my program. I was more than halfway through. I wanted to give my children new sets of experiences and was praying and hoping never to return to this lifestyle for their sake. I needed to retrieve the reins of fatherhood, and this place was the place where, for the first time, I felt like I was making progress in this whole thing. The day before, I had been so excited about seeing my children, and now was fighting about whether to stay or go. It was a difficult night of reflection and decision. I had to decide and did not want to languish in the valley of indecision. I made up my mind, and I was determined to communicate it with clarity. I was old enough to handle my own, and since I did not come to make friends, my decision was final and I would not be moved from it. It wasn't cheap to stay there, so I figured I should go make money on the outside and catch up with the train of life that waits for no man. So naturally, the next day, after all the chores were done and prayers offered, I did not share my thoughts with anyone. I was shunned as someone who possessed leprosy until group began. We all stood up, held hands, and after recital, we took our seats. Introduced ourselves when it was nearly at the end, I was asked, Mr. Mariri, what is your decision? Are you staying, restarting your program, or leaving? The choice is yours. I have decided against all odds that I came here to recover, and this is my last attempt at recovery. And if you feel that I violated the rules and principles of the center and flew under the radar and deflected, as some of you said, I apologize. My recovery comes first, and I'm deciding to stay and restart my program. And as such, I have brought all my work to hand it over as I have seen it done by others. I apologize for not disclosing the details of my addiction. I want to assure you that there is more probably that I have done, and I'm sure as I stay in the center, it will come out, whether from me or the outside or my partners in business. Please do not construe it as an attempt to hide my madness. I'm ashamed of the things I've done, but this is a place of safety, and I'm not ashamed to share with you all the matters concerning me. You are my fellow comrades in the struggle to get free from the insanity of addiction. I'm done with drugs, and I place myself at the mercy of the counselors to determine the course of action from this day henceforth. I will also accept the suspension of my travels to the outreach mission. Just help me rid myself of the disease of addiction that I suffer from. I want my life back. I want my family back, and I want to be normal again. To sleep when people sleep, to be a productive member of society and give my family lifelong memorable experiences. Thank you.
That was another episode of The Door, an addict's journey written by Abner Mariri. The book is available on www.abner.africa. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursday on The Talking Point. It is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Samson Kumalo, technical production by Nanda Koza.
The top stories at midday. Fuel prices set to decrease this week, and U.S. recession fears cause Asian stock markets to fall. A very good afternoon. Motorists can look forward to a slight relief at the fuel pumps from Wednesday this week. Minerals and Energy has announced that both grades of petrol will drop by 15 cents per litre and diesel will decrease by 28 and 17 cents per litre. The department says a litre of illuminating paraffin will cost 29 cents less at retail level. Spokesperson Robert Make says the decrease is due to several factors.
And maximum retail price of LP gas will decrease by 14 cents per kilogram. The reason for these adjustments are the stronger rand against US dollar during the period under review and slightly higher oil prices on average compared to the previous cycle. The slate levy remains zero in the price structures of both petrol and diesel.
Water and Sanitation Minister Cathy Mohlahlana says the construction of Phase 1 of a plant that will enable clean water to be provided to Hammanskraal, north of Pretoria, will be completed by October. She was briefing the media on her department's plans and priorities for the 2024-25 financial year. 30 people died following a cholera outbreak due to contaminated water in Hammanskraal last year. Mohlahlana says her department will continue to support the city of Tshwane in its work to repair and upgrade the Rooival wastewater treatment plant and also to enable the Temba water treatment works to become functional again.
By October this year, hold us accountable for this. By October this year, Magalies Water will complete the construction of Phase 1 of a package plant to enable alternative source of piped clean water to start to be provided to Hammanskraal. This is not going to be a panacea for all the challenges of Hammanskraal, but out of our intervention, we will provide this Phase 1 and hand over Phase 1 in October and Phase 2 around March.
3 people have been killed in a head-on collision on the N1 near the Verkeerdevlei Plaza in the Free State. Other patients have been transported to hospital. One lane that was closed to traffic has now been reopened. Rescue teams are still on the scene. Emergency Services spokesperson Sipoto.
EMS services were activated to head-on collision on the N1 between Verkeerdevlei and Wynberg. On arrival, 2 motor vehicles had collided head-on. On scene, 3 adult males were declared dead, unfortunately. 2 adult males were critically injured. Loss of lives had to be used to extricate one of the adults, and they were transported to Pelenomi Trauma by both EMS and ER24. And 2 adult males suffered moderate injuries. They were transported to Windbeck Hospital.
One person has been killed in eSikaleni on the KZN North Coast in a shootout with the police. Police say a group of suspects were wanted by the police for a robbery in the area. Spokesperson Robert Ntsiwunda says one suspect was shot and killed during an exchange of gunfire with officers.
Police had responded to reports of a victim who was robbed at Ndindima area in eSikaleni by suspects who fled the scene. Police traced the suspects and 4 suspects were cornered at Ngombo area. At the sight of police blue lights, the suspects opened fire towards the police, triggering a response from the men of law. One suspect was fatally wounded in the resultant shootout, whilst the other 3 fled into the bushes. A search for them is still underway. The deceased suspect was found in possession of a .38 special revolver firearm with 5 rounds of ammunition. No police officer was injured during the shootout.
And the fears of a possible recession in the US have prompted big falls on the Asian stock markets. At one point, share prices in Japan plummeted by more than 10%, triggering a temporary halt in trading. The BBC's Marika Oy reports.
From Japan, South Korea to Taiwan, Asian shares are deeply in the red as they take their cue from Wall Street. Investors are concerned that a long-running jobs boom in the US might be coming to an end. The torrent of selling triggered circuit breakers in some exchanges across the region. For Japan, last week's rate hike is another cause of the sell-off. It's made stocks in Tokyo more expensive for foreign investors. It's also strengthened the value of the yen, which is what the authorities wanted, but it affects the bottom line of Japanese exporters.
The top story at midday, motorists can look forward to slight relief at the fuel pumps. From Wednesday this week, both grades of petrol will drop by 15 cents per litre and diesel will decrease by 28 and 17 cents per litre. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
Thanks so much, Mudupi Makhalemele. Good afternoon, everybody. It is 6 minutes after 12, and thanks so much for being with us here on Update at Noon until 1. And of course, trying to bring you as many updates on as many stories as we can. So the African National Congress, that's the ANC's Executive Committee, has decided to take decisive action in municipalities that are underperforming. And this coming from the Lekgotla that's currently underway, and also keeping an eye on what's happening elsewhere. The new MEC for Public Works and Infrastructure in KZN, Martin Meyer, says that he's being intimidated for speaking out against the construction mafia in the province. So that's an interesting one. Also says bullets have been found in his state vehicle, and the construction mafia will call themselves Community Business Forum, are a well-known problem in the industry, demanding a percentage of payment or a security fee or protection fee, however you want to term that, from contractors working in areas in which they operate. So Dries Liebenberg watching that story for us. Also tracking the South African Police Service Special Task Force unit that rescued 90 undocumented Ethiopian nationals during a raid at a house in Sunnydale Ridge in Johannesburg over the weekend. And they were following up on a lead for a kidnapped person and stumbled across these 90 undocumented persons who seemingly were held against their will. So they are expected to appear before the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, the 2 human traffickers and kidnappers who were found on the property. So keeping an eye on that one as well. 20 children who survived the Usindiso building fire, living in temporary accommodation in Denver, Johannesburg, have not attended school since the fire in
August last year. And this month marks a year since that blaze that killed over 70 people. And in the aftermath of the fire, various departments, including the Education Department, committed to protecting and supporting the survivors. So Hasina Kori following up on what's happening to those children. So these some of the stories, as you heard in the news as well. Also looking at some information coming out of the University of Cape Town, where they talk about a record-breaking heat wave unfolding at what should be the coldest time on Earth's coldest place. So scientists are now concerned about what it means for the future health of the Antarctic continent and the consequences if it could possibly inflict for millions of people across the globe. So watching that, and of course a few other stories as well.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
Now, ANC acting spokesperson Zuko Godlimpi says that the party has decided to take decisive action in municipalities where it has lost support. Godlimpi was briefing the media on the second day of the three-day National Executive Committee Lekgotla being held in Boksburg in Ekurhuleni. He says that they are beginning in Johannesburg.
And if you look at the substance of what people are talking about when they go to the national ballot, it's the stuff that historically belongs to local government elections. You go to campaign to people, they are telling you we have sanitation problems, we have water problems, which is the stock that local government deals with. So it means South Africans are no longer now interested in a distinction between the different spheres of government. They are making a moral argument that it's one state, it's one government, the problems must be attended to by everybody. That is why the president then yesterday says part of what the ANC is going to do now is to focus very seriously on the local government sphere and work to stabilize at that level. And he made a reference to one municipality. He said, we're starting in Johannesburg. Because we're not going to sit by and say, oh no, there's load reduction in Johannesburg, people are complaining about electricity, but we as national government, we've sorted out ESCOM, there's no load shedding, but people are not having electricity on the other side. So we've got to find a way to bring in both national and provincial government to intervene at local government, to stabilize the leadership at the level, but also to stabilize the administrative performance of these levels of the state. So what the Lekgotla will then do is to discuss specifically what are the key interventions that are required to stabilize local government beyond the leadership issue.
And that's ANC acting spokesperson Zuko Godlimpi briefing the media on the second day of three-day National Executive Committee Lekgotla.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
Now, the South African Communist Party says that it takes a critical but non-oppositionist stance towards the government of national unity. The party was commemorating its 103rd anniversary in Khayelitsha in Cape Town. Now, General Secretary Solly Mapaila says that the SACP structures will have to decide on the future of its role within the tripartite alliance. Here's a report by Vanessa Puna.
SACP General Secretary Solly Mapaila has criticised what he describes as the behaviour of ANC leaders in selecting its GNU partners and says the outcome of the May 29 elections, which saw the party's support plummet to the point where it needed coalition partners to govern, speaks to a poor message to the working class during the election campaign.
No, it's behaviour. The ANC and its leadership are two separate things. So the behavior of the leadership of the ANC is unacceptable at the moment, in a sense that when the moment arises for them to side with the people, they decide to join hands with capital and want to justify it. And to the extent that there was some engagement with us, they want to include us in that particular process. No, we're not party to it. And we felt that this is a bad political choice. There could have been a different choice and a different outcome. South Africa will then be clear. Now we are going back to the crisis of the majority under capitalist economic system.
Answering on whether the SACP will leave the alliance, Mapaila says it remains up to the party structures to decide on the way forward.
That's a decision our structures will have to take. At the moment, we'll have to have deeper discussion because the alliance is not a wish, it's not my wish or the wish of any other leader in the movement. We're a dual membership organization. So when we talk about the breaking up of the alliance, we are talking about the weakening even of the forces of liberation in this country at a point where imperialism has launched a huge offensive against us using their stooges here at home, including big capital.
Alliance partner Kusatu says in the ongoing class battle, the SACP will remain influential in carrying on the struggle of the poor and working people. Vanessa Puna, SABC News, Cape Town.
Now moving to KwaZulu-Natal, where MEC for Public Works and Infrastructure, Martin Meyer, says that millions of rands are lost to the provincial government due to intimidation by the so-called construction mafia. Meyer adds that despite threats to his own life and intimidation, he will continue to speak out against the terrorizing work of the construction mafia in the province. Construction mafia are local business fora who demand a percentage of payment or a security fee from contractors working in areas in which they operate. Now, Meyer says that these groups tend to delay and disrupt development projects in the province.
It's very difficult to quantify it because, we know of many construction companies that will no longer work in KwaZulu-Natal. We know many companies that have indicated that they do not want to come and invest, build factories or whatever the case might be in KwaZulu-Natal because they are worried that the construction work will be halted. And then there is, of course, the cost to government directly with schools and clinics and hospitals that now are supposed to take 1 year, takes 3 or 4 or 5 years to complete because of the continued interruptions. And it's very difficult to quantify it, but we can really say that it is literally hundreds of millions of rands that the province is losing due to the delay in construction and due to investors being scared off from KwaZulu-Natal.
Tell me about this 30% cut and what is being done there.
So the 30% rule is a good rule. And basically what it says is that when, let's say we're building a school in a community, that 30% of labor, of work, should go to the local community and of subcontracting. And that is a good rule. The problem is this idea was hijacked. It's not really building sites that's been hijacked by the so-called construction mafia. It's this very idea of community involvement in projects that's actually been hijacked by them. So we firmly believe in it, and one of the ways that we are going to counter the so-called construction mafia is that we're going to start involving community much earlier. The moment we start making the plans for a new project, we will sit down with the community, we will empower them, help them to get the necessary people and skills and organization in place, and truly take ownership of everything that's happening there, so that we can ensure that it is actually legitimate people from that community that is benefiting from the 30% regulation.
So when I watch a gangster movie, right, and the gangsters have guys that just sit around on the construction site and they're just taking the money, they're not really doing anything. That's what we're talking about. Instead of involving a community builder, for example, they're just saying, all right, just give us the money and we'll keep quiet.
Absolutely. It's a protection racket, plain and simple. And we've seen protection rackets, it is all this time itself. It's not a new thing. It's just taken a new form in the construction industry. They just want money to be paid to them, and they'll stop harassing you. That's all they want. It's not about the community, and they do not benefit the communities at all. This is not Robin Hood. They're not coming to steal from the rich to give to the poor. They're actually stealing from the poor and keeping to themselves.
And that was the KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Public Works and
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online. We've seen Muslim communities targeted, attacks on mosques, other minority communities singled out, Nazi salutes in the street, attacks on the police, wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric. So no, I won't shy away from calling it what it is. Far-right thuggery.
That's the United Kingdom Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
Okay. So what do we have here? A new dubbed telenovela on S3? The last one was absolutely amazing, so let's see what this one's about. Paloma, a seamstress and single mother, receives the wrong test results and finds out that she only has 6 months to live. Interesting. She decides to live her best life and do things that she never had the courage to do. Understandable. Paloma unexpectedly finds love from a stranger she slept with. I see. She finds out that she received the wrong results and decides to meet the man who actually has 6 months to live? Wait, what? And right there, I know I'm hooked. Channel your inner drama with Bomb Successful, A Life Worth Living. Weekdays at 4:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
S3. Attention ladies. Join us on Saturday, August 17th, 2024 for the Star Choice is Yours Women's Day event at Altitude 4Ways, a day dedicated to empowerment, inspiration and transformation. Engage with dynamic speakers, attend interactive conversations and connect with amazing women just like you. The event will be hosted by the fabulous Unatingai. Don't miss out on this opportunity to celebrate and elevate yourself. Get your tickets now at www.quicket.co.za for 550 Rand, drinks, food and a gift bag included. Plus, stand a chance to win an honor product. This incredible event is powered by independent media and the Honor 200 series.
Witness the global battle of great athletes from South Africa and from all over the world in the Olympic Games Paris 2024. From the heart-pounding races on the track to the graceful routines on the gymnastics floor, each event promises to deliver moments of sheer brilliance and sporting excellence. Live the intense rivalries, inspiring comebacks and record-breaking performances right here across all SABC TV channels, SABC radio stations, on the move with SABC Plus or online on sabcsport.com. Hashtag the global battle of great athletes. The Olympic Games Paris 2024. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
It's 22 minutes after 12. Thanks for being with us here on Update at Noon. Now, the lawyer for the 12 Pretoria High School for Girls learners who were suspended over allegations of racism says that they must be allowed to return to school with immediate effect and without any prejudice. A week-long school governing body disciplinary process found the learners not guilty of any wrongdoing. Fenwell Schumer has the details.
The decision to discipline the 12 learners followed reports of alleged racism, bullying and complaints against black learners by their white counterparts. These were allegedly expressed in a WhatsApp group comprising only white learners at the school. According to the accused learners' legal representative, Richard Wilkinson, the Gauteng Education Department's action was hostile and unfair.
Above all else, this is a vindication of the 12 accused girls who did nothing wrong and who deserve to be treated fairly, who deserve to be accepted in the school, and who deserve to receive an education. The school certainly became very hostile to white learners last week. Hopefully this feeling of hostility will dissipate quickly and the school can return to being a centre of excellence that is welcoming to all.
Advocacy group Save South Africa Civic Movement is equally dissatisfied with the outcome of the disciplinary process. The organization's Tebogo Mashilompani.
We demand the chairperson make public the content of the conversation without attaching the names of the learners. Make public a summary of the WhatsApp content. We demand individual report from each of the 3 members of the disciplinary committee. If demand 1 and 2 fails, we demand a rerun of the disciplinary hearing, and this time an impartial, fit and proper person must be sought.
Members of the public had mixed reactions about the outcome of the disciplinary process.
I think this matter should go forward, and then they should be found guilty, and then this thing of racism must come to an end. Discipline those learners so that it must not be repeated again. Like you said, it was before and now it's done again. So this thing won't end as long as they are not found guilty.
They are not guilty. What should they be punished of? The Gauteng MEC, he should be punished for making noises. What I say is racist behavior from the authorities, not from the children. No, that's all.
The intention from the Gauteng Basic Education is to appoint an independent body to further investigate the culture of racism persist at the school. Spokesperson for the department, Steve Mabonam, says this must not be seen as interfering with the disciplinary processes.
This recourse, which MEC has decided to pursue, will not investigate the 12 learners, but rather the allegations that racism exists at the school. The decision is further motivated by the fact that the report of the SGB ruling make no mention of racism or discrimination against learners, whereas there has been a strong, I can say, the facts that existed at the school with allegation that there is racism at the school.
The school principal and 3 educators remain on suspension pending further investigations. Fanuel Shuma, SABC News, Pretoria.
Now, the community in Tshwane has gathered to undertake a march to the Pretoria West Hospital, and they want all projects at the Pretoria West Hospital to consider hiring locals. For more on this, we join on the line by one of the local residents, Thabo Makula. Thabo, good afternoon. Thanks so much for speaking to us.
I don't need your excuses anymore. I can't think.
Hello, Thabo. All right. Seemingly, Thabo speaking to someone else at the moment, perhaps just as that protest continues. So we'll try and find, a space to speak to him and, find out what exactly it is that they are demanding as this group of people when they talk about hiring locals. What exactly do they mean by that? Thabo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
Cool.
Thabo, I believe that the community of Philip Nell has gathered to march to the Pretoria West Hospital today, and you are part of that. So talk to us about...
We did march we're going to continue with the march and then they're going to be chased. So now, and then those people, we send them to police station to go and open a case of intimidation. Because there's no way that as the community and then in a peaceful march and then people are going to be threatened. So if people are going to be threatened, that means there's some shenanigans going on with the hospital.
So let me get this straight, Thabo.
The acting CEO, he received our memorandum, and then we gave him 7 working days to come back to us regarding this.
So you are saying, in addition to the hospital not giving opportunities to local SMMEs, you are also being threatened by the construction mafia?
Yes. The people have been threatened telephonically. We've got those the contact numbers, and then we just open a case and from there of intimidation. And then the police, they will say what they can do. They can trace the number and find out who's doing that. But we know for sure who are those people.
So
but it's just an allegation. But we'll just give the case to the police to investigate.
So in receiving the memorandum, was anything said by the hospital representative who received that memorandum?
Yeah, the CEO, the acting CEO is the one who received the memorandum and the other stuff.
So you've given them 7 days to respond?
Yeah, so we have given them 7 days to respond.
So just before I let you go, just for clarity, Thabo, so what sort of services are you expecting the hospital to engage the local community on? When you say your local community also has to be given opportunities, and you talk about procurement, what exactly are we talking about?
The procurement, we're talking about that there are so many services that are rendered in that hospital, but those services are not rendered by the local people.
Give me examples of the sort of services.
It's rendered by outside companies.
Give me examples.
From the management, we said, okay, at least involve some SMEs that have the capacity to render those services. Because for your information, I've got a security company, and then I'm staying around here, and then I'm got a compliance, everything. My papers are in order. And then why am I not employing my security company? Why are they opted to employ the security company from outside of this one? So this is what we wanted to do.
Thabo Makola, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much. And that, of course, one of the local residents of Philip Nell in Tshwane, Thabo Makola, speaking to us there about their demands. They undertook a march to the Pretoria West Hospital and complaining, among other things, about not being given opportunities for procurement opportunities by the Pretoria West Hospital, but also being threatened by the construction mafia. Let us know your thoughts. It's time now for the latest news headlines with Cathy Mohlahlana.
Thank you very much, Sister SK. With your headlines this hour, motorists can look forward to some slight relief at the fuel pumps from Wednesday this week. Water and Sanitation Minister Phemisa Jordina says the construction of Phase 1 of a plant that will enable clean water to be provided to Hammanskraal, north of Pretoria, will be completed by October. And Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has resigned and left the country amid violent protests demanding her resignation. A full news update coming up 1 o'clock.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, it's a Monday. Let's see how the week's starting off on the markets. Here's Wayne McCurry. Wayne is with FNB Wealth and Investments. Good afternoon, Wayne.
Yes, unfortunately, not a good start to the market at all this week. It's down about 2%. And that's really about what's happening overseas. The big shares overseas, the big tech shares have come under intense pressure last week. And certainly on Friday, some US jobs numbers came out, which were way worse than expected. So now everyone's worried about a recession in the US and the state of the economy. And that's really what's pushing the markets down. I mean, the US long bond has also dropped quite a bit. The yield has dropped quite a bit. So this has really spooked the market, to be honest. I mean, overseas markets are doing way worse than what we are. I mean, big shares like Intel are down 30% literally in 2 days. And there's many other shares that have also come under stress. So as I said, our market down 2%. Really, it's only Kumba in the green here, up 2%. The shares that are down the most is really right across the board. Apps are down 5%, Impala Platinum down 6%, Pick and Pay down 4%, Aspen and Sanlam down 4% each. The Rand's also unfortunately weakened quite a bit as well on the back of this. It's at 18.65 against the dollar and 23.75 against the pound. And all commodities have come under pressure. You spoke earlier, or in the news earlier on, there was the story that we'll get slight relief at the petrol pumps. Well, even with the weaker rand, oil sitting at $75 a barrel. If this carries on, we'll see another petrol price decrease. But really, gold's also down, platinum's down, palladium's down quite a bit. And then one of the big scares for quite a few investors, I would think, is that Bitcoin is down almost 17%, literally in 1 day. So it just shows you the state of the market overseas. As I said, more so overseas than here. Company results, Telkom came out with a trading update. very much as expected, share basically unchanged. And then Impact, the packaging company, came out with interim results and cash dividend. I thought a little bit disappointing, but the market hasn't really marked them down much today, down 1.5%. So it is a poor start to the week. I mean, we must not read too much into one day's or a few days' movements. Interest rates are going to be cut in September in America and here, and hopefully that brings some relief to the market at some stage between now and then.
Well, we can't wait. Thanks so much, Wayne McCurry. Wayne is with FNB Wealth and Investment.
This is SAFM Sport with John Gericka.
Well, hello.
How's it?
I enjoyed the sport this weekend.
Good. All right, we're running out of time already, I'm being told. Speaking of time, 0.1 seconds, Sakina. That's shorter than the blink of an eye. That's the difference between first and seventh in the men's 100-meter final. 0.1 seconds. For the first time in history, 8 men broke 10 seconds in a wind-legal 100-meter race. But 0.01 seconds, the difference between a medal and no medal in the men's 100-meter final. Akani Simbini set a new South African record last night and placed 4th. No South African has run faster.
I know a lot of South Africans were watching me. The Springboks won on the stadium, you know, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, dude, like, it's a moment of history, you know. There's no South African that has ever been in 3 Olympic finals and placed higher than me. I'm the one that's doing this thing for the first time for every South African, you know. And that's a great thing in its own, you know. I might not be getting the medals and stuff, but what I'm doing is I'm changing how sprinting is seen in South Africa, and I'm motivating a lot of kids, and that is really great, because maybe one day I can inspire some kid and then he'll feel like, okay, if I could do it, I can do it, and even try to do it better than him. We're not done yet. We're coming back in the relay. We've got 3 good guys that were in the semis. I was in the final. Painting just ran a really great time. Patu's also running in shape, you know. So we got another shot in the relay, and we're going to go for it.
All right, let's talk about today. There was sports climbing this morning, men's boulder and lead. The semi-finals were today in the boulder. Mel Janssen van Rensburg scored 9.4 in the boulder competition, 20th place, with the lead still to come on Wednesday. Now, what is bouldering and leading? I'll explain it to you. In the bouldering rounds, they climb 4 problems, each worth up to 25 points, a total maximum of 100 points for the round. Mel Janssen van Rensburg got 9.4. In lead, which is on Wednesday, they've got 6 minutes to climb a 15-meter challenging and usually significant overhanging pre-bolted sport climbing route. It's constructed by a route setter. The score on the route is determined by the highest artificial hold number that they control before falling down. Sport climbing this afternoon at 1 o'clock. It's women's speed qualifying round. Anya Holder. Great name for climbing. Anya Holder will be busy at 1 o'clock. That's a 15-meter artificial wall. You climb at a 5-degree overhang. Fastest to the top wins. That's simple. In athletics this morning, the men's discus throw, disappointing. Francois Prinsloo placed 23rd, a distance of 61.35 meters. Victor Hogan ended 27th, a 60.78. Both missed out on a place in the final. Only the best 12 advance or a qualifying distance of 66 meters, so they were well short. The men's 400-meter repechage, much better though, with both Lyth Pillay and Sakini Nene advancing from winning their respective heats. So they advance to tomorrow's semi-finals, men's 400 meters. And the women's 400-meter first round on the go now. Miranda Kutsia was just about to start her race. I haven't been able to see it though. You have to finish in the top 3 to get an automatic spot in the semis, otherwise straight to the repechage round. So you'll get an update this afternoon. This evening, 5 to 8, the men's 200 meters begins. Sean Maswagani, Benjamin Richardson and Wade van Niekerk to try and qualify for the semis there. And then the big one, the women's 800-meter final, Prudence Segodise. It'll be a very happy runner. Hopefully she'll have changed. She was so happy last night. Check this out.
Well, I'm just emotional. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say much. I just want to, go to my coach and cry with him through all the hard work that we've been putting. So I'm just excited, man.